Ed Pesci sent me an email that he originally sent me on Friday, but I never received with his report about Mill Street. So I'll send that to everyone right now.
Oh, okay.
You really roll with the punches, so you're ready to show it to us and you're ready to tell us about it. You're ready to send it. If that's what it takes, you can do about everything.
Thanks.
But this is when you get all the pre-meeting follow-ups from everybody. So
Right.
I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that aren't happy either.
Yeah, usually the few days before the meeting, there's a lot of either questions from members of the public or applicants or board members or back and forth. And I wasn't able to address any of those. And I don't know if I'll ever even end up receiving any of those emails.
So now it's like the postal service. Yeah, so to that point, I really wasn't able to get any updated information that would have come in over the weekend regarding the packet or applications or anything, so.
Happily, it was a shorter agenda than some.
Thank goodness.
Only 404 pages.
Yes,
A
well,
lot of that was the warrant articles, though.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I thought I could see some of the willow trees starting to look green around the edges. I don't know if anybody else saw that, if I was just imagining it.
Off the road. It's not even on here.
Well, let's see. This is pretty much us, isn't it? Are you ready to start? Megan, is there anything else you need to distribute now that we're live again?
No, I think just the largest information, at least that I know about, again, maybe there's something out there that I'm not aware of, is the Ed Pesci and subsequent Art Gasparo update communication surrounding Mill Street. But
That you just sent us.
Mhm.
Okay. Then if you're ready, let's begin. Welcome everybody. Ready to call the meeting to order, please. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
That sounded like Nat and John is a dead heat tie. I'll call it for John. He was a little louder. And then I'll go back and take attendance, I guess. But let me call the roll and approve the agenda. Fritz is here.
Yes, hi.
Dave,
Yes, I'm here.
Dave
Here.
Iverson,
Here.
John Trudell,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave Callahan. He's muted, but he's here. Campbell,
aye.
John, I'm sorry, Stephen Welch.
Yep.
Okay, so let me now call the roll. As you know, we are still operating under the pandemic executive order from the governor, and accordingly are meeting by Zoom. Let me call the roll. I think I can say that those who just approved the agenda are here. I see staff Megan Perry, and Megan's here, Leslie Snell is here as well. Okay, I don't see at the moment, I see a number of participants. I'm sorry, of attendees, I'm just going to read off the names. Andrew O'Shea,
Little internet problem with Judith.
in my head, can you hear me?
Now,
Yeah.
you were frozen for a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I'm just confirming who's here. Jonathan Silverman, Kat Robinson Greeter, Joe Topham, Mark Hess, Paul Santos, Robert Little, Sarah Alger, Thomas Erickson. So that's who's currently here. I believe that, Megan, are you in charge of notes? Because Catherine's out. Okay. Folks, we've approved the minutes, and the minutes are next. I'm sorry, is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 17, 2021?
So move.
John,
Second.
Dave, roll call. Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz, Judith, aye. Okay, the first part of our meeting, it does not have public hearings, and we turn first to matters that the permanent members of the board will address rather than others who are alternates. Is there a request by anybody? I've got a couple I've asked to pull off the consent agenda, but does anybody else have to recuse from anything or have anything they want to pull off the consent agenda for second dwellings? Okay, the ones I asked, 62 Walsh. This is one you remember we discussed before. I think this was a meeting Dave Iverson was not here
No,
for. You were here.
I was here for that, I think, yes.
Okay. And the proposal is to have a grass and stone track. This is a lot, they should remember, that is a combination of two lots, and we had a fair amount of discussion on it. I think Fritz, you and I were the ones that were not inclined, but the majority was in favor. But I just wanted to be sure I was mistaken, Dave. I thought you were not there, and I wanted to be sure that everybody who was being asked to vote on it knew the background. Does anybody have any questions on this? Megan, do you have anything you want to tell us about we have pictures in the packet.
Yeah, so when we get to this one, I will pull over. Paul Santos is here to represent the applicant. And I did include with the packet, kind of out of the discussion last month, was the suggestion to create more of a disguised driveway access into that garage off of Wall Street. So the applicants come back with a slightly revised plan, just incorporating some of those recommendations from the board from last meeting.
Okay, and I'm basically identifying ones that I wanted to possibly have discussion of, just to get that out of the way. So possibly we can vote on all of them at one piece if there's no questions other than, for me, I had a question about 10 Tom Nevers Road. Did anybody else have a question on that? If not,
I mean, I had a question, but
okay, go ahead, Dave.
um, I mean, I just wonder why we need a second driveway if it's not going to be a split, if it's not going to be subdivided. Was just my take on it. I just didn't. I mean, I know that the second driveway is on a different road, and I don't think it's that huge of a deal. But if it's going to stay in the same ownership, I don't see why we would need a second driveway access. There's plenty of room on the interior to put access.
That was my question too. I think this is the one that had been initially going to be divided into a separate division lot, and then that's not the case anymore. So the rationale for the original action no longer applies. So I think I'm asking the same question you are, Dave. Megan, would you comment on that?
Well, I guess do we want to go through one by one? Are we trying to address questions now and I should pull over the applicants to answer these questions now? Or are we going to pull which ones we have questions about and then consent vote the rest?
I thought I may be doing it a little bit differently. I'm sorry if I'm proving confusing here. I was sort of testing to see if there's enough interest in discussing it before we go to pull the applicants forward, and that way to be sure we separated which ones needed further discussion. So I think that one there are questions. So I'm not sure that there's questions enough other than mine about Wall Street, but I think this one for Tom Nevers, there are questions that we're going to want to come back to. And 15 Beach Street, I had a question on that, Megan. We had acted on the parking issue about that previously, but I had difficulty seeing where the secondary dwelling was going to be. So it may have been something about the packet not coming through adequately, and maybe nobody else has a question other than me on that.
Which one are you speaking of now?
15 Beach Street in Sunset. That's the one with the corner.
Yeah.
I did in the sense of and looking at it, and it's obviously a corner lot and seeing the two entrances, but I guess one of them that is close to the corner is already previously approved or has been there. So I'm not sure.
We saw this one last year.
We did.
Yeah.
So,
Megan, my question that we talked about the parking over on the left
Yeah.
there. I had difficulty figuring out where the secondary dwelling was.
I think it's the old garage, Megan.
so this is going to be the second dwelling. There was a cottage there that is,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was moved or demolished, but this will be replacing what was existing as the second dwelling.
Isn't that
Right.
bigger than the original house though?
It appeared to be so on this plan visually, but I confirmed with the architect that it's not. It's about 818 square feet, which does meet the 20% differential.
Okay, well, that was my only question on that one. Fritz, did you want to talk about that further?
No, not. I'm okay.
Okay.
Existing parking is kind of the one that's odd, but it's existing.
It
So.
works. Well, yeah,
And we already
that's how they
acted
do
on
it. That's how they do it there. It actually is great because they're not taking up space. The vehicles still pull by. There's very few cars. It's very narrow, and all the houses have it along there.
Yeah.
That like little pull-in thing, kind of.
And we approved that last year.
Yes,
Right,
we did.
that's
Yeah.
right.
We've
Yeah.
had extensive conversations about it last year, and I
Yeah.
think that was all around with fire department, fire hydrant, moving propane
Right.
tanks.
Yep.
We spent a
Right.
lot
Yeah.
of time on that. My only concern was answered through Meg that it represented the true 20% less
Right.
reduction. And it looks like it's larger, but I think it's because of the roof lines and maybe the decks or something like that. But I'm comfortable with it if it's meets
Okay,
that.
so if I'm reading everybody right, we can approve as consent
Yeah.
agenda everything but 10 Tom Nevers, and then we're going to call Mr. King up to talk about the Tom Nevers in the second driveway there. So is there a motion for everything other than Tom Nevers?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Thanks,
I'll
John.
Second it.
And Fritz seconds. Roll call. Fritz,
Aye.
Fritz, Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye. Did I?
Judith, aye.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you. Okay, Megan, then if you'd call Mr. King in, then we can deal with the last one.
Yeah, I'm actually bringing over Andrew O'Shea. I'm not sure that Teddy King's on the call.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Mr. O'Shea. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, thank you. Appreciate it.
I think our question is, we have a protocol for reviewing secondary curb cuts, second curb cuts when it's not in a subdivision setting with certain kinds of findings, and you seem to be relying on the prior grant of a second driveway when this was going to be a secondary residential lot. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the project and why the change?
Well, can you hear me, first of all?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so originally we were gonna do a covenant lot, and this is my family's property. So we switched gears. Instead of selling the property as a covenant, I decided to move a house there myself, which I'm buying from Housing Nantucket. I was pursuing something else before, I just didn't have the money to build a house somewhere else. So instead I'm moving it to my family's property, and essentially I'll be living there. So there is already a pathway there, an existing kind of driveway, and the clearing where we're going to move the house to. It's a matter of convenience. It's still one family, but it is two. I will be occupying one house and they will be occupying the other house. I know there's other places in that neighborhood that have two driveways for, a house and a cottage. I don't know if that helps for precedent, but I think right across the street is one of them. I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to have a driveway.
No, the findings we have to make are that it's not contrary to sound traffic and safety considerations, and that it doesn't have a significant or adverse effect on the scenic or historic integrity of the neighborhood. Megan, would you want to fill in a little on this?
Yes, I was just trying to see if I can find an aerial photograph to show where that cut had previously been existing. I think that there's a few things to consider. That, the new driveway access will be entering on a roadway significantly less traveled and considerably safer than Tom Nevers Road. It's important to consider. It's a very large lot. It does have the frontage on both streets, so it's not two curb cuts onto Tom Nevers Road. And it is going to be, though it's not transferring out of common ownership, it is going to be utilized in this instance as two separate dwelling units.
I would like to, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to also say that the existing driveway where the drive will be is as far away from Tom Nevers Road as you can get inwards on Longwood.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not going to be like you turn onto Longwood and then bam, there's a driveway right there. significantly far in.
Okay,
And I do
And
also agree with what Megan was saying as far as I personally don't prefer to have the driveway on Tom Nevers Road just for safety purposes.
Yeah.
this,
okay, thank you. Fritz?
just looking at it, it appears so minimum lot size. So this is not subdividable. So the most that can
No.
happen. Yeah, okay. So the most that can happen is secondary dwelling. I don't know whether tertiaries are allowed, but okay. So it's either going to be a secondary, same family, or it could have been separate ownership, but it's not going to be subdivided. Okay.
Can't be. No,
Okay.
I don't think there's a lot out there that can be, to be honest.
This is lug 3%.
Covenant only.
Yeah,
Covenant
3
only.
acres.
Yeah, you're only allowed to do a covenant out there. You can't subdivide at all.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Unless it's more than 3 acres, I think.
Okay, members of the board, is there a motion on this?
yeah, can I just ask one more
Yes,
question
please.
to
Of
the
course.
young man that's talking right now?
course.
I love that. I usually pull over and talk on my phone right about where this curb cut's gonna be. So where am I gonna pull over when I'm out there working? It's a nice little spot right there.
I'll give you special access.
Coffee's on.
So this is a really small building you're moving there, according to this 650 square feet.
Yeah, it's very small. Yep.
So in theory, I mean, what you're doing is smart. You're sort of taking what is already built and you're putting this as far away as possible, sort of, so that you don't clutter the property and use it wisely for a potential second. This could be a tertiary at some point, and another building could be built sort of, 20% less than the other house. At some point down the road when things cost, twice as much as they do now, I suppose. But
yeah,
this is, I think what you're doing is good. I don't have an issue with it. We also have to consider the bike path on Tom Nevers Road will happen in our lifetime. Believe it or not, I firmly believe that. And it is going to be on that side of the road. So less vehicles pulling out onto Tom Nevers is probably pretty smart, even though it isn't that many. It would also cause them to have to kind of mess up their land a little bit. They'd have to put the house in a different place if they shared that driveway cut. So I'm in favor of it because of it being so far away and on a different road. And I think they're doing a good, pretty good job in what they're doing. Makes sense.
Thanks, Nat. Other
I
comments?
did want to say.
Oh, yes, sir.
Maybe this isn't the place to bring this up, but my well is actually going in the corner of that property towards Tom Nevers Road in Longwood. How's that bike path going to affect the well?
Just make sure your surveyor doesn't put it in the layout.
That's all. I'm going to talk to him tonight after you mention that.
Yeah.
Further
Okay.
discussion. Nat, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the second dwelling in 10 Tom Nevers. I don't know what the number is.
Is there a second?
Second.
John seconds. Okay, roll call. Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Thank you, Mr. O'Shea.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, next is, let's see,
Walsh.
Walsh. I think I just wanted, I thought we voted on that along with everything else a minute ago. I just wanted to be sure everybody was familiar with it. So I think we're done with that and we're on to garage apartments. That tally with your tally, Megan? Okay. So we've got 2 garage apartments. We're going to have a bit of a discussion about comparing garage apartments and secondary dwellings after we get through with these. Are there questions about these particular proposals? We've got, let me see here, I'm losing track on which one. This is 218 Cliff Road Associates and 14 Pippins Way. Are there questions about these that anybody wants to raise? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Thanks, Fritz. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Nat. Roll call, Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, we had agreed last time that at some point we needed to have a further discussion. We had a project, you remember last time, that there was some debate about whether in fact it was a garage apartment or if it was a secondary dwelling. So Megan put together materials for us on this. Megan, do you want to say anything, or Leslie, kind of highlighting the differences? Or if anybody has questions, we'll take those in a minute. But first, let staff, if you'd like to comment. Leslie.
Okay, well, I think last month, at least as I remember, the confusion was because of the application that was used, the language in the, application, and then language provided at the meeting that was all conflicting. So you all have in your packet the definitions of garage apartment, secondary dwelling, and tertiary dwelling. Garage apartments and tertiary dwelling are subject to the same level of review by the planning board, which is simply just a review for adequacy of access. But within their definitions, they have different standards for what constitutes a garage apartment or a secondary dwelling. And then the tertiary dwelling has a similar level of review by the planning board. I think one thing that sometimes makes this a little bit confusing is we have defined terms in the bylaw, but then people use their own slang terms, if you will. So someone will use the word cottage when what they really mean is a second dwelling, or studio when what they really mean is a second dwelling, or maybe they mean a garage apartment. So sometimes you really have to sort of mine through the information to find out what exactly the person is referring to in our defined terms. And sometimes that can be a little bit confusing. And I think that's what happened last week. So if anyone has questions about the definitions, I'm happy to answer those.
Madam Chair.
Fritz.
Yeah, so is this the part that was, I mean, not confusing, but that just seemed strange was we were presented with, I think it was Wall Street. And it was, well, it's something that looks like a garage apartment, but it didn't meet the definition because of the size of the dwelling unit. So automatically it becomes a secondary dwelling. But let me just add, I think part of this becomes because they were added at different times. So to some extent, you've got an issue of, well, is a secondary dwelling with a garage, could it be, I mean, could you really have these combined or just have one definition or one standard? I don't know. But is the concept of a garage apartment is there any limitation that the apartment has to be above the garage?
That's not in the definition. I mean, the concept is a traditional garage apartment with either residential or commercial garage on the first floor, with the majority of the apartment living space on the second floor. And I don't remember exactly when we added that definition, but it wasn't too long ago. I'm just trying to look. It was added in 2009, I think. And that was when we started breaking out the zoning districts to really define between areas that are primarily residential and areas that are primarily commercial. So there are some commercial areas where a garage apartment is allowed because it would be more of an accessory type use, but a secondary dwelling is not allowed because we don't want to perpetuate the idea that it's a residential area. So, as I recall, that's why we started breaking out those definitions so that we could, better define where secondary dwelling residential uses go and where some accessory residential uses may be allowed in commercial areas. And also there are some neighborhoods where, a garage apartment is allowed by right, but a secondary dwelling requires a special permit. And that is sort of a second tier of this to sort of control the, traditional feel and look of that neighborhood and the density of that neighborhood. I mean, a garage apartment tends to be smaller in scale than a secondary dwelling may be.
So I would just, with that, so in your mind, there is still a lot of logic to having these being separate as opposed to thinking down the road that somehow we could modify the language and have fewer alternatives. I'm not suggesting, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some logic. As you pointed out at the beginning, we used to not separate between a secondary dwelling as a freestanding dwelling unit or a unit above a garage. And, throughout the years and throughout the evolution of the master plan and, the ideas for going forward, we thought it was a good idea to separate them.
Okay.
Do you, I'm curious, Leslie and Megan, do you have people coming in who are confused about which of these they're trying to get, or it's the kind of thing that makes me wonder if there's any way to have a chart or, something. I don't mean today, because I know you've got plenty you're working on now, but if we found that confusing, I can imagine lay people coming in trying to figure out what they're doing could find it confusing as well.
I think usually when people, come in to speak with us about their application, we make more of a point of, sort of drilling down into what it is they're really applying for. And some of the applications that have caused some confusion recently are applications that were, submitted maybe by a team of people where people within the team were using different terms.
Okay.
So I think for the most part, it's pretty clear.
Okay. Other members of the
Can I just
board?
make a quick
Yes.
comment on this?
Please.
I think that this is a good conversation and we should have some separation instead of it being sort of in that group of consent. Because of several reasons. I think one is definitely the Pine Valley zoning change. It's important because back in the day, nobody thought about stuff like this. This stuff was just, we just didn't have all these terms. And when we came up with tertiary is when the garage apartment, in my opinion, sort of popped up a little bit. Because technically most garage apartments are like about the size of a tertiary living space. So in theory, if you have a garage apartment and it was a second dwelling in the old days, which wasn't that long ago, now all of a sudden you can build a second dwelling and turn the garage apartment into a tertiary because it's in that size range, living space wise. So I think this is really important because it is confusing. It can also be a bedroom. You can have a garage apartment is just attached to your house as a bedroom, not technically an actual dwelling unit. So I think Fritz brings up a good discussion here because it isn't so much, what it is on the ground or what it looks like. It's more about what is it functioning as and what can it be later and what did the tertiary do to this garage apartment? What did it transfer it into? And it is confusing for the people doing it. So I think this is a good conversation. I think it'll help everybody involved with in the permitting stuff to figure this stuff out. So I'm happy with it. I think we should have it separate.
Any other comments or questions?
Just to carry it as one more, just so I understand. So let's say, and I think this is a separate thing, but let's say you have the primary dwelling and you have an attached garage and you have an apartment above the attached garage. I take it that that's not a garage apartment. That's an accessory use for a primary dwelling. Am I going the right way?
That would be, I think, sorry, Nat, but I think what you said may have caused a little bit of confusion about the garage
Okay.
apartment. So we have a use, I don't have my bylaw where I can reach it, but we have a use that's an accessory dwelling unit, and that's a dwelling unit contained within a primary dwelling occupied by an owner. So
Like
that's
an
one option.
in-law.
And it has some size limitations, and that's not something that you review. So I won't cloud the water with that right now.
Yeah.
But for a second dwelling or a garage apartment, it has to contain heating, cooking, and sanitation. So if you have and that's what makes it a dwelling unit. So if you have a full dwelling unit above a garage that's attached to your primary dwelling, it's a garage apartment.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very helpful, everybody. Are we ready to go on? Okay, next up is A&R plans. We have the first two for Young's Way and Blueberry Lane that need hearings, so we're holding those off. 63 Cato Lane, questions about that? If not, then next one is 105 Main Street.
Madam Chair, I need to recuse on that one. As a matter of fact, I was one of the trustee or one of the executors that signed the deed that transferred the property to the present owner. So I think
Okay,
I
I wondered, I saw that too, and I wondered, thought this guy must be a lawyer.
Madam Chair?
We'll take that separately, John.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll leave it up to your discretion. I don't have any financial interest. But the owner was a contributor to my son's scholarship fund 8 years ago or so. So if it's all the same, I would recuse myself.
Okay, we'll take both of you out. Let's see if there's any comments on the last one, and then I'll split the vote out. 4 North Street, Obed Joy LLC. Anybody on that?
North Water, you mean? Judith.
Pardon me?
You mean North Water Street?
I'm sorry, yes, I do. Thank you.
It's okay. We got a lot of Norths in the agenda tonight, so I just want to make sure.
Sorry, I had my eye doctor, so my vision is not what it might be. Okay, let's take 63 Cato Lane and 4 North Street together, but separately. Is there a motion to approve those?
So
Make that
moved.
motion.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Dave moved and Nat seconded.
Yeah.
Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John. John said yes, and Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. And then we'll go back to the one, this next one, 105 Main Street has both Fritz and John Trudell recused. So among the others of us, is there motion?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Dave. Nat, you gonna second?
Second.
Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Thank you. Okay, next, previous plans. 108-05 Hummock Preserve. Megan, do you want to talk to us about this one?
Sure. So the applicant is requesting that the final lot in the subdivision be released. Ed Pesci identified a list of items that were included with your packet. You would like to go out there just to do a final check on the drainage. Assuming the drainage is okay and the applicant submits the recommended amount with a Form G as well as replenishment to the engineering escrow account, planning staff is comfortable with releasing that final lot.
So the motion would be, Megan, to approve, subject to staff final review before the actual release of funds.
Yeah. So similar to we've done in the past that you'll approve to endorse, but staff will hold the document in the office just until we can finalize with the applicant any outstanding items to be completed.
Thank you. Is there discussion on this? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second,
Fritz moved, Nat seconded, roll call. Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John,
All right.
Judith, aye. Thank you. Number 61-16 Hawthorne Park lot release. Megan,
So same situation.
Oh,
here, the
I'm
final
sorry.
lot.
Dave, did you
No.
have your hand up?
Yeah, but Megan can go ahead. I'll speak after Megan.
Okay.
It's the
Megan,
final lot to be released in the subdivision. Like the one before it, Ed Pesci identified a list of remaining items to be completed that wouldn't be practical to do so prior to the finalizing all of the construction. So that's how we determine this amount to be held in escrow. It's 120% of the remaining work to be completed. Additionally, there's some funds due to the engineering escrow account, which is a separate account. So long as we get the proper paperwork and checks, we're comfortable with releasing this final lot.
Dave,
I'm sure I'm repeating myself. I just wanted to make sure that we have that the verbiage is in the homeowner agreement for the maintenance of the stormwater systems. I don't recall on that one. So I just want to make sure that was, and have they gotten a signed conservation restriction yet for their open space?
If memory serves me correctly, and I could bring Sarah Alger over, I believe we recorded a document stating that they were unable to find an entity to hold the restriction so that the planning board would be.
Okay, that's right. I do recall that. So
Or so.
that's settled then. I mean, we've settled on that.
Yes.
Okay, and then
good thinking to ask the question though, Dave. Thank you.
yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, and then I would just like to be assured that there's language in the homeowners association about the stormwater systems.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that something you need to bring Sarah in, or is that just a proviso that it can't be released until that's included?
Yeah, I can bring her in to see if she recalls offhand. I don't have the document in front of me, so bear with me.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is going to be very anticlimactic because I don't remember if it's specifically in there. I believe that it is. But I will verify and I will send it to you highlighted.
I think
And that
we
amount is
okay.
fine.
So it
Thank you,
would
Sarah.
be okay with you, Sarah, if we approve it subject to staff review on finishing any remaining Ed Pesci items and confirming the stormwater.
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay. Dave, do you want to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
John seconded. Roll call. Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And May, could you just, if you get a chance, just maybe in an email, just send me over the conservation restriction stuff. Thank you.
Okay, White Whale Lane. I seem to remember, John, you recused from a white whale before, but not this one. Is that right?
Correct. These was totally different lots.
Okay. Anybody else need to recuse? Okay, Megan.
So this request, the applicant is requesting that the board grant a minor modification to the approved subdivision. One of the items identified in Ed Pesci's final punch list was the installation of a streetlight. It was not a waiver that was requested at the time that the subdivision was applied for. So they're just asking that that waiver be granted. The one on the plan, it was like a black light post type of street light that was to be installed. So my recommendation is to go ahead and approve that waiver. However, to have all of the homeowners in the subdivision submit in writing that they're also okay with it. It's not one person that owns all of the lots now. There are several different ownerships, and we just want to make sure that if we're going to approve the minor modification to the subdivision, that everyone a part of the subdivision is on board with that request.
Sounds good. Are there questions, comments? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thanks,
Second.
Fritz. Dave seconded. Roll call. Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Number 5617 Plumber Supply 9 and 11 Spearhead Drive.
So this is a request just to close out the engineering escrow and return the funds to the applicant. The project's complete. Ed Pesci's continued or has completed his review and reports for this particular project. So the escrow account no longer needs to be utilized. So I'll recommend to release those funds back to the applicant.
Questions, anybody? Is there a
Make a
motion?
motion to release.
Yep.
Thank you, John.
Second. Second.
Nat seconded. Roll call. John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Next one is 67-17 Tacoma Green. This is a discussion of a future special permit modification. Megan will explain this. We had initially thought this might be a minor modification, but the applicant wanted some additional clarification. Megan.
Or sorry, I'm just bringing a few people over into the panelist from the attendee list. Who else do we have here?
My face.
Do I have everyone?
You got Mark and Sarah. And Oren, I don't know if John is going to speak or not, but
Welcome.
I think
Thank you
just
for,
Sarah and I are
thank
gonna-
you for being with us.
thank you for
Yes.
having. So Sarah, do you want to start out, or do you want me to kind of give it a little overview? Oh, you're muted, Sarah.
Still muted, Sarah.
Hear you, Sarah.
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Oh, great. Okay. So it's been a while here since we got our original permit, and it was appealed, and it took some time to clear that appeal, but we finally did, and it went to record right at the end of the year of 2020, I think in December of 2020. So simultaneously, we've been going in now that the permit's cleared for updated financing. And of course, over time, some of the programs have changed a little bit in terms of where the grants are, and costs have changed related to the project. So we're into the state right now for our grant applications, and would like the flexibility to change the unit mix, provided it goes in the direction of more affordability and not less, if it helps us access financing that makes the project stronger. And the way the permit was worded, it said that there are so many units will not be restricted. And to us, it was a little ambiguous as to whether or not that meant there can't be any restriction, or whether it meant this permit doesn't impose a restriction. So we wanted to clarify that we had the flexibility, and it was consistent with the intent of the permit to do more affordable units if it's helpful for the project. So that's the big item. And then in terms of a process of finalizing what the mix is, what that is, instead of an open hearing, if the board is okay with the flexibility, can it just be finalized with staff once we've got the final mix and we've got our grants approved and we know what it is an additional question. And then the final site plan, the original intent was to submit the final site plan within 6 months of the permit decision. With the appeal, everything got put off. So now that the decision went to record at the end of December, we're pretty much done with it now, and we could submit now, but we would like the 6 months, and clarify that we have 6 months from when the decision was recorded and not the original decision, which obviously had to go through a whole appeal process. So those are the general areas where we just want to get some initial discussion and see if there was anything controversial in that, and if not, take it through the formal process to make sure that everything, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and we don't have to open anything up later as we go forward.
Question, Madam Chair?
Yes, John.
For you to Mark. Mark, just making sure that the designated market rate lots that are going to be allocated for the affordable units, will the newly formed affordable units be now contributing towards the SHI list?
All of the units, because of the mix, will contribute to SHI.
So they're still, okay.
It will be 64. So when we increase it, because we're above that threshold, they will all still qualify.
Great, thank you.
That's a good question.
Questions from others? Yes, Dave.
Through you, Madam Chair, are there any consequences to changing the mix? If we were to go ahead and say that it's 100% can be restricted, is there a consequence to that?
In which regard?
Negatively. I mean, clearly it would help in funding with grants, probably is why you're asking, but is there any flip side to that?
Well, not to argue against our request, but people want to see something for everybody that's in the and I think that we've done a good job of that, of having different options for people to sort of grow out of their current situation and maybe qualify at higher income. And I think that particularly with the large block of workforce units that we still have in there, 29 workforce units, that we provide that even without the market rate units. But our proposal is not to eliminate them altogether, but still have a significant tranche at each income level to allow people to not have to relocate just because their situation has improved.
No, I think that's great. And we have a lot in the pipeline coming down to kind of fit people into those things. So just a question. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. I had initially thought this could qualify as a minor modification, at least for portions of what you're asking, like the clarification of what is actually meant by the permit, for example, or staff review of certain sorts of things. I don't know if this is a question for you, Sarah. Is it indeed necessary to treat this as a modification that's not a minor modification?
I think on the mix of units, for financing purposes, it would probably be cleaner if we had an amended decision that dealt with that. The deadline issues that we have, I think could definitely be handled as a minor modification. I think those are actually probably in the conversations I've had with staff and Andrew covered already because of the appeal and then the Permit Extension Act under the COVID orders. But since we have to come in anyway, I think the mix is probably important enough that it should be done by the board at a public hearing.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear on that. And part of the reason I'm asking too is I know there's been a full and fair and complete and lengthy appeal, and I hope that there won't be another go round on that. But in any event, I just want to understand what the thinking was.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. We're on the same page there. Unfortunately, I just think the way the decision was written, we did provide for certain things to be able to be done without a public hearing.
But this isn't one.
But I don't think this is really probably
Okay.
one of them.
I just wanted to be sure I understood that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is a preliminary discussion. We don't need to take any action now, but we would anticipate setting a public hearing soon. I imagine maybe next month. Is that agreeable by the board? Any other questions before we do that? I don't know if we need a formal board action to set that, Megan, or if I think you can just set that. So
Yeah, I think that's fine. You actually have an extra week this go around the way the dates line up. So the deadline for next month's meeting is not until a week from today. We do have some time.
we just, I think, want to thank all of you on this team for sticking with it and doing the heavy lifting to make this project move forward. It's a very important project for the island and for the community, and we thank you.
Well, thank you. And, you know, the town and Andrew's office and Tucker and that whole team have been extremely helpful and cooperative just to try to help with the heavy lift. So they deserve a lot of credit for sticking with us in the process as well.
We look forward to the groundbreaking. Okay. Are we set? Will that work okay with you for the next month's session?
Yes.
Okay.
What is the filing deadline for the next meeting?
It's on a week from today.
Okay.
It's next
Great.
Monday.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right, we're now about to move into public hearings. Megan, will you tell folks who may want to speak how that will play out?
Yes, so if you are watching from home and you wish to participate, you can go ahead and click the link at the bottom of the YouTube stream to register for the meeting. If you're already registered and wish to participate in a public hearing, just raise your hand and we can recognize you in the order in which you've raised your hand as soon as the public comment portion is open. For applicants, I'll go ahead and bring you over as a panelist at the beginning of as soon as the item is introduced.
Thank you. First, we have two matters that are requesting a continuance. PLSP 2020-11-92 to Mayflower Circle, requesting continuance till June 14, 2021. Is there a motion to continue?
So moved.
Thanks, Nat. Fritz looks ready to second.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith, aye. And then PLSP 2020-10-89 and -90, 10 Cliff Road, LLC, 10A and 10B Cliff Road. This one to continue till the next meeting, April 12th, 2021. Is there a motion to continue?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Dave.
Second.
Fritz seconded. Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next hearing, I see Joe, glad to see you back with us. Megan, this one, maybe you'll introduce PLSP 2021-2-106 Red Cliff LLC, Doug Hughes, 38 Youngs Way.
Sure. So the application before you is for a rear lot subdivision. I can give you over to Joe to provide you with more details about the application itself. That's all right.
Please.
Joe, you gotta unmute.
How am I now?
There you go.
Good.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I think it's a pretty typical rear lot subdivision. We've got the 20-foot wide entranceway, except for a little tiny easement area to maintain the zoning setbacks for the house. We wouldn't have to do that. I don't know. I looked at the staff report. I was fine with that. And we did get 2 letters from abutters. And I responded to Megan concerning their concerns. One
Joe,
lady.
could you tell us, our email has been down, so not everybody in the board may have seen all that,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
So there was two people. One was Gregor or something like that. And she wanted a fence and some plantings, and Mr. Hughes is fine with that. She's in a butter. And then Mrs. Yettles or some name like that. And they were more concerned about the general issues of the neighborhood, too much traffic and so on. There wasn't much we could do to that except for assure them that we wouldn't increase any on-street parking, because if the lot gets developed, we'll have to provide off-street parking. And then Mr. Hughes did talk to a few abutters, and they were in favor of the project and wanted him to go forward with it. We don't have any letters or anything concerning that. But other than that, I don't think it's too complicated of a project.
Members of the board, do you have questions before I open the hearing for anybody to speak? I see Glenn Yackel.
Yes, this is Glenn Scott Yackel. We're in a butter.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Yackel.
Well, thank you for hearing me. This is that the whole area, the confluence of Bayberry, Youngs Way, and Tacoma has gotten to be very dangerous with the traffic. We've actually have written letters to, have contacted the fire marshal about the problems of the traffic in that area, as the police, as well as the town manager. Nothing's ever been done. If there's ever an emergency down there, there will be problems with getting large equipment down through there. And so it's an unnecessary densification of the area. There's no when you look at it, there's really no parking along Youngs Way. So in the site plan, nothing was provided for the potential for off-street parking, other than a very long driveway which does not meet the driveway access requirements of 139-20.1. And so we're fundamentally opposed to this.
Mr. Yeakel, I'm sorry to interrupt. It would help us if you explain that rather than state a conclusion that's
well, yeah,
not fleshed out.
the driveway access is has got a maximum length, and by the way that this plot plan for the subdivision has been laid out, it extends way beyond that maximum length of the driveway.
Okay.
So I'm just appealing to the planning board because the stated purpose of the planning board in section 1.03 is protecting the safety, convenience, and welfare of all the inhabitants.
Well, I would just say, and we'll have more discussion here, we have to comply with the detail of bylaws of various sorts, so we don't have a kind of opportunity to just deal with broad brush issues without anchoring them into parts of the bylaws. That's why we're going to discuss in some detail those matters. Megan?
Oh, no, I was just going to say for clarification, there's not a restriction on the length of the driveway. That's false.
Okay. I was just reviewing the zoning laws before the meeting. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, please, Sean.
addressing Mr. Yankel. Mr. Yankel, is your, I see your property being in a butter, of course, but do you have any access or to Young's Way, or does your driveway access to Coma Way?
Our driveway access is actually Dooley Court.
Okay.
We did have a driveway access on Tacoma Way. Our address was 30 Tacoma Way. We actually had to move that because of the safety issues associated with the densification of that combined intersection area.
Thank you, Mr. Yeakel. Are there other questions from the board? Okay, I'm going to go, Megan.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I'm not sure if you're able to see the hands raised, but we have two others that.
Yes, I do see.
Okay.
Thanks for catching that, Megan. Mr. James Greeter.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. We're the direct abutters at 42 Young's Way. We're right on the corner of Tacoma and Young's Way. And we certainly want to be good neighbors, and we understand the need for increased density in the Mid-Island area. So we're not fundamentally opposed to the development of the back of the property, but we just want to make sure, and this is what we addressed in the letters that we submitted to the board, and it sounds like the applicant has read those letters, is that we're looking for mitigation from the impact of that development. So right now there is a fence. It's a 5-in-1 fence that was erected by the previous property owner. That's currently falling down. The part of what we were hoping for was to see a fence erected there, but a full 6-foot board fence with perhaps some arborvitae or something like that to enhance the screening. The other crucial issue that we were trying to get at was when the property is developed, to make sure that the lighting is all shielded and downlighting, because where the building is going to be is directly by, and the driveway is directly by our bedroom. So those are the two big issues. It sounds like one of them might have been addressed by the applicant in the beginning, but we just wanted to make sure that in fact it was going to be a proper 6-foot board fence, ideally with the screening and with the shaded downlighting. And with that, I'll take the rest of your comments off the air. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to respond to that?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I did outline that in the letter I sent to Megan, or email I sent to her. It did bounce back once, so she didn't get it till noon or maybe later. But yeah, we're going to put a 6-foot board fence, arborvitae, and the down lighting as required. So basically, we reiterated what he requested.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Since you have the floor, is there anything you wanted to say in response to the first commenter, Mr. Yeakel?
Well, no, I mean, he's asking, it's more town-wide kind of issues.
Yeah.
I mean, we will have parking in the back. We're required to provide, depending on the size of the house and how many bedrooms, we're required to provide that. So we're not going to increase the on-street parking. It's the traffic and the other things he's concerned about. We don't have the authority to do any of that.
Okay,
That's the
thank
way the
you.
road was laid out.
Just wanted to give you a chance to speak to that if you wanted to.
I appreciate
the board,
back
Nat.
and forth. I mean, I don't think it's that busy of a road, but then I don't want to get into that. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Nat, did you want to comment?
Everything Joe's saying is true. So Joe, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this special permit. So what are we doing? What are we getting rid of, Joe? What are we gonna, forfeit? Tertiaries? Because I mean, this house is obviously built smack dab in the middle of the lot.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously this is a good thing, saving them from. This could be demolished and completely changed in 5 minutes if it was somebody else. So, what are you looking to do?
I think we can give up the tertiary. I think there's probably going to be in one building in the back, anyways. It gets tight.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, I'm looking at this and saying, the rear is sort of a single dwelling sort of setup, and the front theoretically could fit a tertiary or a small secondary in the corner or something like that, and that's about it.
I think that would be pretty optimistic, because once you start dividing the parking, you really cut the lot down.
Yeah, and that's my point here, is that this is providing separate ownership, but not really building more than what could be done now as a second dwelling by right.
Correct.
So I just want them to understand that we're not making, theoretically not making more, we're just separating land ownership with what could be built now.
Correct.
So,
point.
But I just, we need to have that, as part of the decision. So, just asking you what your client is
I haven't
willing to give up.
He's trying to call me, but I think I can speak for him and say that we can give up the tertiary.
Yeah.
On the back lot.
On the back, for sure, on the back. In the front, I don't think I would
across the board.
Yeah. I think it's unlikely that he'd want to put one in the front. I don't see where you could get it.
Yeah.
I don't see how.
What about the screening, Joe? I went by there today. I've been driven by this house 1,000 times and never looked at it like I did today. So, what do we? I mean, that's obviously all getting fixed. But what Mr. Greta said, are we doing? You got the 12-foot traveled way there. So, how much space is there going to be for more than a fence? Okay, in other words, it's, fence doesn't take up any space, but arborvitae does. So I'm just wondering what you got.
You could probably have a 3-foot hedge there pretty easily, 3 to 4 foot. You'll grow out to that.
So there's plenty of space there for that. You've already looked at that.
Right.
Okay. And what was the other thing that they brought up? I forgot what the other one was.
They wanted the down lighting on the exterior
lighting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna.
That we have to do. So
you have to do that.
We'll make sure that. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure we, have in the decision what we're agreeing to forfeit. So
Okay, that's fine.
So that that's clear, because this will come up when we're all, you know, in the Caribbean or somewhere else, and, you know,
Let's go.
whatever. Okay.
I thought it was Ireland, Nat.
Well, no, I'll be working. I can tell you that. I'll be in a wheelchair going down people's stairs somehow. Oh, God. Okay. Is any, just Judith, I just wanted to bring that up real quick. So I'm sure there's other people have
That's
questions.
very helpful. Thank you. Other members of the board, questions for Joe? Otherwise, it's probably time to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Thanks, Fritz.
Second.
Dave seconded. Roll call. Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, Nat, you had the makings of a motion, I think.
Well, yeah, I do. I just want, you know, so the staff gets this decision written correctly for what Joe's client is willing to forfeit in the future to get this special permit. So I would make a motion to approve per staff recommendation with the agreement that there will be no tertiary dwellings on either lot. Lot 2 and lot 1. And whatever, Joe, is that good, or do we need to clean that up?
I think that's fine, Nat.
Okay.
Also, Matt, I think you need to make mention of the two findings with the staff and also.
Yeah, that each lot, yeah.
The
That
two
each lot
staff
shall
recommendations.
Megan,
right, the two staff recommendations.
Megan wants to tell us something.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I heard the discussion. I want to make sure I'm interpreting correctly for the decision that a restriction should be included to require the applicant to install screening in the form of either a 6-foot board fence as approved by
Correct.
HDC and vegetative
That
screening.
was, I kind of assumed that was already getting put down, but yes, this vegetative screening and the board fence, 6 feet.
Okay.
Or, you know, whatever's agreed to, 6 or 8, whatever it is.
You can only do 6, I think.
Oh, is that what is there a limit? Okay.
No, you
Also
know
mention the down lighting.
Yeah, to comply with the dash guys town bylaw. Okay, so with the two staff recommendations written, plus the screening, the fence, the lighting, and the elimination of any tertiary, Megan. That would be my motion, Madam Chair.
Megan's smiling and nodding wisely.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Are you gonna go back and approve the A&R now?
Yes.
Wait for the
Yes.
appeal?
Yeah.
Good.
She's got it here for
I'm
us,
just
Joe.
turning the page.
She's got it right
Thank you.
here. We can't miss it. I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve Redcliffe LLC and our plan.
Second.
Second. Okay, roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Thanks again, Joe.
Thank you very much.
We got
Night.
it all.
Thanks a lot.
Okay,
I'm gonna be recusing on these next two, Madam Chair.
okay, thanks. This is 2 Blueberry Lane and 2A Blueberry Lane. Anybody else need to recuse? Megan, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. Do you want to activate one of the alternates before I do so? Or do you wanna-
Sure. I guess I'll go with Dave Stark, so he may not be there at the moment. How about Stephen. Oh, Dave, I'm sorry, you get the next one.
I see Steven's unmuted, but he's muted because we can't hear him.
Oh,
I live very close to this, so I probably would recuse myself.
I'm here. Thank
okay.
you.
Okay. So this application is requesting to create a secondary residential lot for year-round residents, which is a covenant lot. The covenant lot is shown as Lot 1B. It has just over 16,000 square feet of lot area. They are requesting one waiver from the shared driveway requirement. It is important to note that the driveway access to this covenant lot, the proposed driveway access, will also service the covenant lot that's being proposed in the next application. So that's why they're requesting the shared driveway access. They're just going to be sharing it with a different lot, not with the market rate lot. Other than that, it's a routine secondary lot application with the standard findings and conditions.
And is the applicant's representative here?
I do not see him. Oh, hold on. I see Chris right here. So let me pull him over.
Welcome, Chris. We're happy to have you with us.
Hi, Judith. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Okay, is there anything you wanted to say before I open the public hearing?
Not much. I think Meg just kind of gave the good rounds of what we're kind of doing here. So we have the two lots with the secondary dwelling we're trying to go for the covenant lots on. So
It's always a pleasure to see covenant lots, so good work on that.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful program. So happy to do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to open the public hearing. If there's anybody here in the audience who'd like to speak, Megan, do you want to tell them the drill one more time?
Sure. So if you're already registered, you can just raise your hand and we'll recognize you in the order in which you've raised your hand. If you're watching at home and wish to participate, there should be a registration link at the bottom of the YouTube stream. So you can go ahead and register for participation.
Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up. Megan, you're not seeing any either?
I see one from
I guess, let's see.
I was going to be, excuse me, Madam Chair. I was just going to bring up a concern from an abutter who is not currently on island. So that's why I rose my hand under the public hearing.
Okay, that's fine. Please speak. Would you identify who you're speaking for?
For Ian McNeese. And it's also a concern for another gal who's off island at the time, Carol Jean Butler. And they have both, as I expressed a concern of the curb cuts, multiple curb cuts onto Blueberry Lane. And so I just want to reiterate that they would prefer to see a shared curb cut, not necessarily a shared driveway between what the lot we're talking about now, Lot 1A, and the next one, Lot 2A, so that traffic going in and out of those lots is in a controlled area, because the traffic there's a lot of traffic on Blueberry Lane, and that curb cut to Lot 1A is close to the South Shore Road turn, as well as that bike path there. So anyway, those were a concern they had expressed to me, and I said I was on island and I would be here, so I would bring it up.
Thank you. Could you just clarify, Chris or Megan, you said you were going to have a shared driveway, right? So there's only one curb cut.
No, Madam Chair, through you, the additional driveway access is actually going to be on South Shore Road. It's not going to,
Oh, okay.
actually going to mitigate traffic concerns onto Blueberry Lane by rerouting that off of South Shore. I think what Campbell was referring to is suggesting that to Blueberry and to a Blueberry share a driveway, which, because they're two independent parcels, that is not something within the board's purview to require as a part of this application.
Okay, thanks. I was confused. I appreciate that.
A question on where would one direct one's concerns then? Would it, do the curb cuts need to be approved by the DPW for Blueberry Lane, or because it's a private road, is that moot?
It's, the DPW approves all curb cut permits.
Okay, yeah, I understand that 1B and 2B are going to be using the same access, right-of-way access off onto South Shore Road. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. I don't see any other hands, so is there a motion to close the hearing?
No move.
Thanks, Fritz. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second.
Dave seconds. Roll call. Dave.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Nat.
I'm not on this one, Judith.
Oh, sorry. Fritz.
Aye.
Judith, aye, and Stephen.
Aye.
Okay, so the hearing is closed.
Make a motion to approve, Madam Chair,
With
certain conditions.
Okay.
Unless I see Dave's hand up.
Dave, oh, sorry.
I'll hold the motion.
Yeah, can yeah, I'm sorry, Stephen. I'm not clear on where these curb cuts are going, to be honest with you.
Let me pull.
So if someone could help me out with that, please.
Hold on, Dave.
I had
Okay.
Madam Chair, I had the same question. I'm looking at the plan and I see dotted lines two sets of dotted lines coming off Blueberry and one set South Shore Road. Are those the curb cuts?
But is that an easement on the South Shore Road one? I don't know. It's confusing.
If I heard it correctly, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like we're having, there'll be one driveway coming off of Blueberry going into 1A. There'll be one driveway coming off of Blueberry to 2A that are two separate lots. And then there'll be a shared driveway coming in from South Shore Road that will cut through to access 1B and 2B. Is that correct, Mike?
Yep, that's correct. So lot
Okay.
1A and lot B are currently one lot. 2A and 2B are one lot with existing permitted curb cuts here and here to service each of those respective lots. The additional curb cut will service, this is the covenant lot right now in question. This will be the next application up, but they will have a shared access off of South Shore Road.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other questions before Stephen makes his motion? Stephen, back to you then.
Great. So I'd make a motion to approve subject to staff recommending conditions and the planning board having found that the proposal advances the intent of the zoning bylaw by creating housing for year-round residents, that the second driveway access is not contrary to sound traffic and safety considerations, and that the second driveway access will not have a significant and adverse effect on the scenic or historic integrity of the neighborhood.
I'll second
Thank you.
Stephen's motion.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, roll call, Stephen.
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, everybody.
Don't go
Okay.
anywhere just yet. You have the next one.
Okay. Stay around.
So 22A, we pretty much have talked about that, but we need to vote on it separately, and we also need to vote on the A&R, right?
That's correct. So you'll want to just open the public hearing for 2A Blueberry Lane. It's an almost identical proposal to the one you just voted on. You can vote on that, and then finally you'll want to vote on the A&R.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there's anybody who'd like to speak on 2A Blueberry Lane, that proposal, this is your opportunity. Seeing none, I don't think I'm seeing any. Is
Motion
there
to
a
close,
motion to
Madam Chair.
close? Thank you, John.
Second,
Second was Stephen?
David.
David.
Dave.
Roll call. John,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Judith, aye.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, to approve with the 3 findings and also the 5 staff recommendations listed.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call. John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Judith, aye. And then a motion on the A&R.
I'll make the motion to approve the A&R secondary residential lot special permits.
Second.
Okay, that was John and Fritz. Roll call. John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John.
I think I already eyed.
Okay, sorry. Stephen,
I'm actually not gonna vote as an alternate.
This could be a 4-member.
sorry. Right, okay. Judith, aye. So that's approved. Chris, I think we've finished it up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, PLSUB 2021-02-133 Muller, Nantucket Associates LLC, North Mill Street.
I'm going to bring some people over here. We have Art Gasparo, who's the engineer on this project. We have Henry Mueller. Art, who else might be in attendance for this?
Could be Jeff Blackwell, Rick Bodette, Marianne Hanley. I'm flying solo.
You and Henry.
Okay.
Could I just ask, I'm sorry if I messed up your name. I have a friend named Mueller that spells it that way. Do you go by Mueller or Mueller?
Mueller.
Mueller, okay. Well, you might want to know a very distinguished con law expert in North Carolina whose name is Eric Mueller.
I respond to either, but I
All
was
right.
christened Mueller.
Thank you. All right. Art.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're before you tonight with an AR subdivision, which has evolved from a recent preliminary plan approval that the board issued a couple months ago. And this is for essentially what's a 2-lot subdivision plus a roadway. I would like just to address quickly that the initial application had been written up, making it seem like it was 4-lot subdivision. And in part of the development of the plans, the preliminary plan had the roadway with some flared ends that kind of came in instead of your more typical rounding. We went through a process to change to your more conventional roundings, and in doing so, that resulted in having to subdivide the 2 adjacent lots and seeming like this was more than it really is. So last week we did revert to the plan to match the preliminary plan. In other words, the road has just a flared end and clarifies, I think, that this is nothing more than the 2-lot subdivision at the end of the cul-de-sac. So I hope that's clear, and we're happy to address questions to that. To the point of the overall subdivision, it is in line with the preliminary plan approval granted by the board. We're looking at a 20-foot gravel road and a 30-foot layout that goes back to a turning circle. And the applicant, as discussed at the original, at the preliminary plan hearing, is willing to restrict those 2 back lots to single-family dwellings, which we believe is hopefully strong justification for some of the waivers which have been requested that we would like to go over. Again, this is in ROH zone. These are oversized lots, and the gravel road is really just to serve those 2 properties. We will be installing municipal infrastructure, including sewer service and water service, as well as electric, cable, and telephone. We've designed a stormwater system to accommodate the 25-year storm in accordance with the rules and regulations. Essentially, at the bottom of the hill, the intersection of the road, we would put in a deep sump catch basin to an infiltration facility using some standard chambers. We have received just recently Mr. Pesci's review. I have looked it over. I'm confident that we can address all of his comments well in advance of your next hearing, and be able to get those to him and to staff to have hopefully, not the few days before the meeting, back and forth about those. I don't see anything in there that I see as problematic. In fact, I think I've already addressed more than half of them, including, adding a water main to the plans. I just hadn't shown that at the time of the application. I had some uncertainty as to what was there for existing infrastructure, and have worked that out. Clarifying the grading, I've done that going, on the plans. So in terms of what is in his letter that I think needs to have some discussion with the board, is really the way, and staff would be the waivers that have been requested, which are really, we are looking at a rural road alternative to have a gravel road. I don't think, and I hope the board would agree, that in this location that you really need extensive shoulders along the road, or streetlights, guardrails, berms, anything of that nature here. But just because it is in the regulations, we have formally requested those waivers. And I think that really sums up the application before you, and I'd be happy to try to address any additional questions or concerns that you may have.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Yes, Fritz.
Just a question, because I'm familiar with the property. I'm trying to place, what's parcel B?
Parcel B there's a note on, if I may, through you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Parcel B will be incorporated into lot 34. There's a note at the top of the, into lot 35. There is a note at the top of the plan that addresses that.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Other questions before we open the hearing? Megan, I wondered, I'm not sure that everybody had a chance to review Ed Pesci's comments because they came in so late. I wondered if you or Art wanted to say anything more about that for the benefit of anybody who didn't get to read them before the meeting.
Sure, and apologies for getting everything so late and not being able to provide the updated plan. As most of you are aware, we had an issue with the town email servers, so I wasn't receiving emails, I wasn't able to send them. So I actually was able to drop off some hard copies, but I was not able to circulate those to you to review in advance of this meeting. So there was some communication between Art and Ed, and Art has already informed everyone that, some of these suggestions are minor in nature and that they should be able to get everything on the same page well in advance of next month's meeting. Overall, we're supportive of the project. So there's just those minor details that they're working out.
So Ed also suggests that this will be possible to work out. We know it. We know it's an area that is sensitive in terms of environmental considerations. So I know that he's aware of that, and the board is too. So it'll be helpful that that all gets worked out before we see it again. I see. Let's see.
Campbell has her hand raised.
Campbell. Campbell.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I just had, because I wasn't able to find the waiver request, but I just had one thought too, really. I know they're mentioning the 25-year storm, but as we know, that's a very, even in a regular storm, it gets quite a bit of runoff, and there'll be less, less pervious ground surface to soak up water. So I'm just wondering if it's possible for them to do it on a larger scale, like a 50-year, or is it just that you only have to design to whatever the regulation is? I know we're in the process of looking at some alternatives as we look at climate issues affecting the island. But so I was wondering that. And then sort of along the same lines, I think I mentioned, perhaps Art said something about not putting in a curb or something. And I'm just wondering about controlling water down that hill as a gravel road, because that road has a tendency to wash out with really big storms. So I was sort of wondering if there was any thought or possibility of controlling water going down there, whether, it's through, I don't know what you'd call them on the side of the drive. But anyway, those were my questions.
I'd be happy to address this. Art, you can address it, but whether you're talking, and I'm not entirely sure, was it Campbell? Is that your first name?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Campbell. I'm not entirely sure if you're talking about the driveway, if you will, that's part of the proposal that you're considering, or if you're talking about North Mill Street.
North Mill Street.
Yeah. Number one, we've already put some infiltration catch basins alongside the lower portion of North Mill Street. We anticipate doing the same at the upper portion of North Mill Street. There will be some additional water management at the head of where North Mill Street comes into Prospect Street. That's part of.
That's the big one.
Yeah, that's the bigger piece of work. That's a commitment that my family has made to the buyers into our development. We have plenty of resources to do that. We have a plan that has been reviewed by the DPW as well as by the sewage department, and has, in fact, some of the calculations for the storm and runoff have been updated. So we think we're doing a pretty good job, and I think I'm understating there, a pretty good job of addressing those issues. Number one. Number two, I just bought the house that's sort of, on Prospect Street right across from there. I've been spending a fair amount of time there. I will be there throughout the spring, the wet season. We're going to be watching the water pretty carefully, both as it comes down from the proposal you're considering on that little driveway, as well as on North Mill Street itself. I can tell you that exiting the winter, I was just there last week, exiting the winter months, there's no sign of erosion on any of those roads. And I'm just saying that because I've had discussions with Bob McNeil, I've had discussions with David Gray, Ernie Strang did the work, and we've been, I think, pretty consistently sensitive to that issue. We will remain in that way consistently sensitive to that issue until all the work is done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Are there other board members or alternates who would like to ask questions?
Just, I might as well chime in real quick.
Yes, please.
So I just want to say thank you for what you just said, Henry. That was really important because there's been discussions, over the years about North Mill Street. And when I was a kid, I used to drive down there and all that stuff. I mean, I watched some people walk out of there the other day. It isn't even easy to walk out of North Mill as a path onto Prospect, although that's the future, but that's not even that easy. So the key thing to this sensitivity of this area is the water that was running down there. The Cape Cod berm comes down past Frakers, and it sort of kind of disappeared there in that little spot, and the water would just run down North Mill, just like it always did forever. And that's the problem. Now that's corrected, or will be corrected, or whatever. And that capturing all that water that was coming from Prospect is really the majority of it.
That is absolutely correct.
And so what I'm hoping, though, with what was said earlier by Art, I haven't actually spoken to him about this project, is it would be nice if we didn't need any berming. And I think that if they develop the properties correctly, it will be sort of naturally directed without really having to install something that's not appropriate there. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to put berms there. That's, this is a ROH area that you're rebuilding into new ROH, kind of. You know what I mean? You don't want to have that. So I think that this can fix itself, as long as, I think this is important for us to have this sort of, I don't know if it would be something in the decision, or it would be something just as a general point to Art, is to kind of plan as you go a little bit with some of this. This is going to be, there's going to be things that you find, work or not, just during construction, like just during this process. You know what I mean? And once you close off that water, it's going to change everything. The gravel that was installed down there at the sort of the intersection of Angola, and did you put some drainage down there too? Did I hear that said earlier by Art?
We did not update the DPW drainage per their instructions, but we did install, I can't now remember whether it's 6 or 8 inches of gravel with a grade. And we did put some of the infiltration.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And
I think
that's made quite a difference.
Art, are you there? Might be better to talk about this. So is there any, they don't have any plans of what's in there, do they? Town, they wouldn't know. That's too old. What's in there down there? There's one in front of Candle House Lane. I know there's a little drain down there, and that's probably something that was done over 100 years ago or more.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
So if I could just take a couple minutes to address all the comments I think that I just heard, because I think this is a great discussion.
Art, just before you do, I see one other comment from the public. Would you prefer to have that come in? And then
whatever you prefer, Madam Chair.
Pamela Clark, if you'd like to speak.
Hi, excuse me. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm new to this, so forgive me.
You're doing great.
Anyway, Henry, first of all, I appreciate all that you guys are continuing to do to make this all work the best possible way. I'm in a butter on Angola and through to Candle House. And what Campbell raised was my concern, and also the just overall, not just the drainage onto North Mill, but there's considerable drainage down onto Angola that runs into the Angola and into the land bank property and part of my property. And I just want to throw that into the whole keeping all of this working in the best way possible for everybody so that the water, once building, as has been pointed out, we all know that once building begins, first clearing lot causes drainage issues. But once construction starts and things start being put up, as was said earlier, that affects it all too. So I just want to throw in there we've addressed the North Mill piece and down and into and the new little road, but also the Angola piece into it as well to make sure that all of this runoff ends up going somewhere that doesn't affect anybody negatively.
Thanks for speaking, Ms. Clark. Art, all yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we've been looking at this in two pieces, essentially North Mill Street, Mr. Mueller and his family and Blackwell Associates and Strang and DPW have all been working on a plan to address the drainage and the improvements in that road. And this application before you is really from the intersection, from the sideline of North Mill Street up for the division of this property. So looking at this property, we're talking about, and to Ms. Campbell's points, we're talking about a 223-foot long road. So it's a pretty short, gravel road. And what we're doing is to capture all of the runoff from this property using essentially engineering analysis and runoff coefficients, assuming, the development of the gravel road, the development of the residential lots. And one of Mr. Pesci's comments, I think, is very helpful and will be incorporated. What I've done for the catch basin placement is exactly to Mr. Lowell's comment, where it's to the north side of the intersection of the road. So that's where the water all naturally wants to go. And so what we've done is we're not going to crown this road. This road will be, essentially a flat road going up because it's coming down a hill. The water will all, flow down. And at the end of the road, it naturally, instead of fighting the grades, it wants to flow to the low spot on the north side. I've positioned the catch basin so that it's actually down off of the road into a slightly lower spot. Mr. Pesci's comment was that we should include what's known as a beehive type of a catch, basin on that instead of a flat basin. And I think that's a great idea. The benefit of that is that leaf litter and that sort of stuff can sometimes accumulate when you put your catch basins down off of the edge of the road. And by having the beehive that, usually you do like a little swale around it and the leaves or that sort of stuff can accumulate, the water can still, come over and go in. So we have looked very carefully in terms of the subdivision that's before you and the, capturing and infiltrating all of that water while the town and Mr. Mueller, his family, continues to work on drainage improvements. And I have seen the plans as well that have been developed and are going back and forth with the DPW to make those improvements. But what we see as important is that we're capturing essentially every drop of water that's coming off of this. So that currently already flows into that. So we're intercepting that. We're making an improvement to the situation that would be taking some of that water away that's already going down there. And then they'll handle the water that's already out there from other locales.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I just want to say that through you. All right, thank you for that. You actually answered the next question by working with the DPW. This is key because that's old stuff down there. And if there's a way that they can work with them and to improve, that's good. Also, Angola Street never sees the sun. It's totally wet all the time. And it sort of stays in its current state because it's never, it doesn't really dry up. It sort of stays, kind of wet. So this is good. I like what you're doing, and I appreciate you looking at this from a sort of a special, with a special pair of eyes here, because it's probably going to be a lot better than it ever was because all the water was uncontrolled. I mean, it's funny when stuff is the way it was for years, no one says anything until it changes, and it might be better. So I think this is going to be a positive outcome. Appreciate the emphasis.
Thank you.
My sense is, since we need one more pass between Art and Ed Pesci, that we probably should continue the hearing. Is that, Megan, is that what you'd recommend at this point?
Yes.
So I see nobody else in the audience, but if that's agreeable to the board, would you, someone make a motion to continue?
Second.
I think that was Fritz, and I'm going to give it to John this time. Roll call, Fritz.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Judith. Aye. Okay, so that will be continued until, is April going to work?
Yes,
do you
certainly.
think? Okay. April 18th, is that correct?
I think it's the 12th.
Okay, April the 12th, our April meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, everybody. We appreciate you.
Thank you all.
such a
Thank you,
job
Art.
here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down to a relatively small number. I'm not going to guess when we'll be done. However, PL sub 2021-02 dash 132 281 Hummock Pond Nominee Trust, William Hunter, trustee, and 273 Hummock Pond Nominee Trust, Kevin Dale, trustee, 1 and 3 Mothball Lane. And I see Megan's brought Dan Malloy over. Greetings, Dan. How are you today?
Good, and you?
Good. Thanks for being with us. Megan, do you want to say something here first before Dan moves it ahead?
Sure, Dan can go ahead and give you all the detail. It's just a modification to a subdivision, really. Normally this would be handled through A&R because it's a lot line adjustment, but because of roadway lots involved, we should really do the public hearing. So Dan can go ahead and give you a overview of the specifics.
All right, does everybody have a copy of the plan, Megan? There should be a.
Yeah, it should be in the packet, but let me grab it. I can put it up on the screen if you give me just a moment.
You want me to share mine?
Are you able to?
Oh, we'll find out.
If you're able to, that might be best.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So the board last approved this subdivision back around 2018. It was approved for 2 lots. The proposal is still 2 lots, but during construction, we had to move some buildings a little bit, adjust some utility locations. And because of that, we now have to amend the subdivision for the property lines to reflect those changes. We still have 2 lots. We're not looking for any other relief, no changes in the subdivision approval or conditions. We're just strictly looking to move lot lines around, just as Megan had said. Typically, it would be an A&R plan, just for some interior lot line adjustments. So you see here in red, this is the proposed change. And in red down here is a change to the right-of-way. And again, it's only approval required because we have to amend the right-of-way as well as the interior line. And that's it. Is there any questions on this?
I remember this.
Board members, do you have questions? If
Madam Chair.
you want to raise them, and then I'll open the public hearing. Fritz?
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time looking, the the first, as I look at the packet, so the first item on the packet is a photograph with blue and green line, and I see that, which looks like the blue line now has access coming off of, I'm not sure, Mothball Way. But anyway, I'm having a hard time with that, and then the plan. And maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. Are those the same thing?
The property gets frontage off Mothball Way down here.
Yeah.
But the actual driveway access is through an abutting property up here, which comes out on the Mothball Way. Is that what you're referring to?
I guess so. It's just looking at the photograph. I'm just having a hard time looking at the photograph and then squaring it with what the plan is showing. And I'm aware that we have the access that was created, Lot 3. I was involved in that.
Okay, actually, I'm looking at the planning board packet. It looks like it has the wrong picture in it. That's what the problem is. Yes.
Okay. So I wasn't crazy.
That's the wrong address when I typed
Yeah,
it.
it's the wrong picture. That's what happened. The GIS is they just recently changed the lot addresses and everything on these, so that's probably what the problem
So forget about page 1.
Yes.
Okay. Now
In the bottom left corner of page 1, you can see a green line.
Yeah.
That's our property. You'll see the driveway cutting across.
Okay. Now I thought I was crazy because I couldn't match up the two. Okay, so you're still planning on the actual access is along that gravel driveway easement, whatever you call it, that wanders through the property and used to go out to the houses that are now falling in the water. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. Functionally speaking, on the ground, nothing's going to change in terms of what was already approved.
Okay. And okay. That's all.
If it's okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, if anybody'd like to speak on this matter, you'll see a chance to raise your hand at the bottom, and we'll call on you in the order in which you raise your hand. I see no hands raised, so I think we can close the public hearing. If the board feels like you've got questions to Dan, I'll wait and close it after you've pursued any further questions with Dan. Anybody have questions to Dan? Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Don't move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
That was John.
I did, Judith. It's okay. It
Roll
doesn't
call,
matter.
Fritz. Okay,
Aye.
thanks, Dan. Fritz,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith. Okay, is there motion?
Motion to approve the request with the condition that all the original conditions remain in full force and effect.
Second.
And then there's some additional conditions, staff conditions.
Okay, do we have those, Megan? Or no?
Page 14. Oh, I'm looking at the
That's a
wrong
different one,
I'm sorry.
Judith. That's okay.
I
That's
turned
okay.
2 pages at once. Sorry. Okay.
I did that earlier in the meeting.
Okay. So
Yep.
everybody know what the motion is? Ready to vote? Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, thank you, Dan. Now you've got another one coming up. PLSP, we're going to take all 3 of these at once. PLSP 2021-2- 109 -110 and -111 Arrowhead Archaeology Corporation, and the properties are located at 13 Arrowhead Drive, 110, 112, and 117 Hinsdale Road, and 19 Arrowhead Drive. Megan, do you want to say anything before we turn to Dan?
No, just that we can discuss this all at once. It's for one corporation. There's 3 different MCDs involved, so there'll need to be 3 separate motions and votes. But other than that, I will hand it over to Dan.
All right. If it's okay, if I can share my screen again.
Yes, please.
Where'd it go? Okay, so I'm going to assume everybody's generally familiar with Toscana's operation. So it's all Toscana operation we're talking about. So you have their main facility on Hinsdale Road here and across the street. They've also since acquired 13 Arrowhead Drive, which is the former Gray Lady Marine Boatyard over on the left. So you've got 3 applications in front of you, all for one entity. Just unfortunately, the way the property's been developed over the years in different pieces, there's 3 different permits. So the first application is a combination of 2 properties. It's Hinsdale Road here and 19 Arrowhead here and 110, 12, and 14 Hinsdale across the street. So in this bottom corner here, you can see this is an old storage garage building. That building is being moved across the street to their Hinsdale Road, across to Hinsdale Road over here where they have material storage. The use of the garage will remain the same. It's just a storage and equipment garage, moving it from one place to another inside their property. So that's one part of the application. And then at 19 Arrowhead on this property, they have their main office building out in the front corner of Arrowhead and Hinsdale. Behind that is another garage office building. So this building here is currently used, as I said, for office space, about 1/3 of it, and the other 2/3 is garage. They want to convert the garage space so this entire building is office space. They're just running out of room in their current building. This is all for the Toscana Corporation. They're not renting out space or anything like that. The last time the board looked at this property, you approved a larger building in the same location for employee housing. So as part of this application, we're asking that request be stricken from the permit because that's no longer proposed. And then the third request is the property they purchased at 13 Gray Lady Marine. So they're looking to essentially bring that into part of the Toscana construction yard site. So you've got the existing storage building, Gray Lady Marine, which will remain as a garage storage building as it functions now. All of the boats you're seeing in this picture, if anybody's driven by out there, the whole place has been stripped out. It doesn't look like this anymore. And then there's another building in the bottom left corner over here, which previously was an apartment and a storage building for Nantucket Island sailing. They have since relocated elsewhere, so we're now looking to turn this building into a duplex dwelling for employee housing. So it's kind of 3 permits to encompass the entire Toscana operation across multiple properties. And there's a few independent requests inside each application. The majority of the requests are really just to do with noting the use changes. We're not looking to make any special revisions to the MCD permit on 110, 12, and 14 Hinsdale across the street other than adding a building. There's no conditions, nothing we're looking to adjust over there. At 13 Arrowhead Drive, which is the old Gray Lady site, we have asked to make a few revisions to the conditions in the approval. I believe the majority of those conditions, if not all of them, really have to do with the previous owner and previous conditions that are no longer relevant. It was previously owned by Great Harbor Yacht Club. They're no longer the owners, and there's lots of references in that approval to Great Harbor Yacht Club with easements, parking requirements, and things that are no longer in place. We're just asking for some of those conditions to be stricken from the approval. And other than that, there's some wording in the approval. Again, a lot of it's just to do with taking out references to community sailing building and Great Harbor Yacht Club. And then for the 19 Arrowhead Drive, which is this building here, behind their main office building, again, we're looking to remove the condition or the previous approval for the large employee housing dormitory building and have the board recognize that we're basically retrofitting a garage space into office space. And there is parking right now, if anybody's had a chance to go out there or has been out there. Right next to this building is where they all park now. There's 5 parking spaces already there, as well as ample parking throughout the Toscana Yard property. But right now they have 5 compliant spaces right along Hinsdale Road, which provide parking for this building. And I think that sums it up. There's a lot going on, but the requests overall are not very big.
Right. A lot of housekeeping.
There's a lot of permits. Yes, it's housekeeping.
Huge housekeeping. Yeah.
Members of the board, do you need the photo still kept up, or should we take that down?
Don't need it.
I'm going to take it down.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks. Helps me see who needs to be called on. But that was a very helpful presentation, Dan, very clear. Very complicated situation. Okay, board members, we're going to have to ultimately vote on each of these separately, but do you have questions on the whole thing?
I have something, Judith. Judith, thank you for that. We haven't had anything like this in a while, but I think that the previous application, Dan, helps us with this decision because you sort of have gotten so familiarized with everything now. You sound like you've been here forever talking about it today versus the last time, because there was so many, you know what I mean? You've done some digging. So Leslie, this is for you. Do you think we can approve this with staff sort of handling all the nuances of everything he's talking about, like previous uses, previous owners, you know, the Great Harbor Yacht Club stuff? I think there was something in there about parking and events or something. I mean, there's some crazy stuff in here that needs to all get fixed. So that's pretty tough for us to handle that here, you know? Maybe come back to us with a final, I don't know. I'm just asking what you think.
I think it is a bit complicated for you all to hash out right now in the meeting because there are so many permits in play.
Right.
The Great Lady permit in particular had a lot of conditions that don't need to carry forward. So, you know, if you want us to do that internally and you can take a look at it, obviously, before you sign it, I think that's fine. I think what's really important here is that you're just clear about your intent. And if you'd rather us draft decisions for you to review and vote on at your next meeting, we can do that too. But I think either one would be fine as long as your intent is clear.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nat. That's a good proposal. And Leslie, I think that makes a lot of sense rather than trying to do it on the fly because there's a lot of detail here. I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to this matter? If so, please go to the bottom of your screen and touch the icon that lets you raise your hand. Leslie, if we're going to proceed that way, should we keep the public hearing open or close it?
Either one is fine. I mean, you really only want to keep the public hearing open if you're going to accept new information. And in this particular case, I think it's more of a just an administrative
Scrivener's,
act.
yep,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I think if we're going to allow staff recommendations to take precedence, and then we just need to close the public hearing and go with Nat's suggestion. If we're going to wait just to have something put before us before the next meeting, then obviously we'll keep the meeting open.
Well, my sense was, I may be reading it wrong. It could be either of those things, John. That's a good way to frame it. I think Leslie would want us to provide enough guidance so that they could draft, and I don't know that there'll be further questions, but with something as complicated as this, it strikes me that there's at least a possibility that there might be need for further clarification or something of that sort. Leslie, do you have a preference?
I don't. I mean, I think this is really just a cleanup. I don't think there's anything that new being introduced that you haven't talked about. So I feel confident that we could handle drafting the decisions, and you all will obviously have a chance to look at them before you endorse them.
Would you have, Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Please, no.
Would you have, Leslie, would you have Ed Pesci review the final drafts? Is there anything of engineer that you need to worry about? Some drainage or something like that with the combination of the lots and moving buildings?
So typically we include a condition in the decision that says the final plans are subject to a final sign off from Pesci. There's just a boilerplate condition that we include. And Ed and Dan have worked well together for a long time, so I'm sure they can work out any changes that need to be made.
Megan, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I know that Dan and Ed had been talking about just some updates to the plan that Dan's going to submit to be included with before the filing of the decision.
What's your pleasure, John, between the two
Well,
choices?
Madam Chair, this is way beyond my pay grade. I feel very comfortable with the staff and Dan Malloy, the way he's presented it. Also with review from the engineer upon final. I think there's not much more that we're going to add that we haven't already discussed in previous applications with the sailing building and Great Harbor. So, the other. So I would feel very, very confident to close the public hearing, let staff review this, go through with Dan Malloy and the engineer sign off, and then we can review and sign off at a later time. But I don't think we need to keep the meeting open.
Okay, then you'd move to close the public hearing.
If there's no one out there with a hand up, I would move to close the public hearing.
And
Second.
Nat seconds,
Second.
Dan, Dave seconds. Roll call, John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz. Fritz, you're muted. You're mute. Unmute.
Aye, yes.
There you go.
Judith, aye. Okay, John, I think you pretty much captured it in what you said before, but do you want to frame it again?
No, I think that's it. But listening or looking at the notes that we have to vote on these individually, I don't know if we need to vote on these individually and with each of the notes being, we'll approve this with staff recommendations working with Dan Malloy and Ed Pesci's review, and then do individually 3 votes with that suggestion.
I think that's right. So you've given us the gist of the motion. I think everybody understands it. We'll take them one at a time. Is there a second? Is there a second? John, you moved the first.
Yes, that's what I'm doing. I'll make a motion to approve PLSP 2021-02-0109, 13 Arrowhead Drive with staff recommendations working with Dan Malloy and review with Ed Pesci.
Second.
Okay, Nat seconds, roll call. John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Yep. Okay.
Dan, Dave,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay,
Okay,
next
Mike.
one up, John, you
Yep,
want to move that?
Second motion, PLSP 2021-02-0110, 110, 112, and 117 Hinsdale Road with the same suggestion. Staff recommendations, working with Dan Malloy and Ed Pesci, engineer review.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I've given it to Fritz this time. Roll call, John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith, aye.
And
Third vote,
finally, to make it a triple here, triple play, I would make a motion to approve PLSP 2020-02-0111, 19 Arrowhead Drive, with staff recommendations, working with Dan Malloy and engineer review with Ed Pesci.
Thank you. Dave, if you want to second it, you win in this one.
I'll second that.
All right.
Second.
Roll call, John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, so we'll probably be able to take that up again at the next April, at the April meeting, we hope. So all goes well. All right. Thank you, Dan. Next is citizen article. This is one you may remember that there was an issue about notice, so it had to be carried over till this meeting. This is zoning map amendments to place a property at 10 Clifton Street, currently located in the Sconset Residential 10 District, instead in the Sconset Residential 1 District or the Sconset Old Historic District. And I know we're going to have a question about which of those two districts it should be. Leslie, do you want to talk to us about this one?
Sure. So this is a citizen petition. Oh, I see John Brescher is here. He submitted it. Before he submitted this, we had a conversation about an article that the planning board was considering, which would have placed properties abutting this in the SOH district, which was why this has both options. And since that article did not move forward, SOH really should not be considered because it would be totally isolated here. If the board is inclined to consider one of the two, it would be SR1. John can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a change in SR1 would create the potential for one additional lot.
That's correct.
John, do you want to say more to us about what's behind this?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
For the record, Attorney John Brescher, representing the record title holder, I believe Blue Whale LLC, which is 10 Clifton Street. This is, my client has been talking to me about this for probably 3 or 4 years about trying. So what had originally happened for this particular property, her family has owned this and the property just to the south of it since I think 1969. And at some point when they purchased, it was 3 separate lots. Currently, there is one single family dwelling. The lot to the south is about 6,000 square feet. It is held in trust. It is separate, it is vacant, and plans are to have it remain vacant. At some point, I could have even been 1972 at this point for the time that when it was when zoning came into effect, the properties were effectively merged between the ones on Clifton Street. That it is now roughly 10,000, might be 12,000 square feet. And so my client has had in her head that they were once 3 lots. She would like to have them be 3 lots. And so we had talked about either trying to go to zoning for this, zoning board for this, for variance. And we said, well, what if we try to do a rezoning, since the properties across the street, I believe, are only in 5,000 square foot zoning. This would be relatively akin to the neighborhood. And so we had gone back and forth. I was chatting with Leslie and Andrew, honestly, for about 2 years, because originally they said there was talk of going to SR1, and they said, well, planning is, I believe the planning office is trying to phase out SR1. And so then my client was hesitant to go to Scottsdale Historic, which was the next 5,000 square foot district. And so this, I think probably in maybe October, she said, you know what, let's see if we can rezone the property for 5,000 foot zoning. We had the conversation with Leslie and Andrew, say, okay, well, funny enough, the properties across the street are going to be zoned to SOH. So put in for your article, basically say that it would either be SOH or SR1, dependent on whether the properties across the street are rezoned or not. I can tell you there is no plan for her to actually sell off any of these lots whatsoever. She actually wants to go back to what her family basically had circa 1969. That is it in a nutshell.
Leslie, can I ask you something? If no one else is going to say anything yet. Okay, so what are all the other lots in this little block between Lindbergh, where it cuts through there, and this whole like North Road? Are they all in R10 or SR10 now, or just this lot?
There's a group, I don't know if Megan can pull up the zoning map, but there's a group of properties that are in SR10. There's a grouping across the road that's in SR1. So this would just be extending it across Clifton to this one property. And then it would be surrounded on the other sides by SR10, excuse me. So the pink to the north of the blue outline is SR1. The green is SR10.
Okay. I'm just wondering why don't we, we should be looking at changing all of it to that if we're going to change one, is my thought. You know what I mean? So it's not just one lot or one owner or whatever entity.
Well, okay. To that point, the Sconset area plan group is getting up and going. They're going to be looking over the zoning and other things for their area plan. So that's certainly something that, we could give them some direction to look into if the board wants them to.
Could I just be sure I understand the blue box area is the area in question here? So what is the current zoning?
The current is SR10.
And they're asking for?
SR1.
Yep, okay. Yeah, because that sure looks like spot zoning otherwise. It's across the street, but it's hard to know why you differentiate that one parcel, as Nat was saying. John, do I see your hand?
I can actually add, Madam Chair, that between, I think we had Lindbergh and the end of North, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And of these, I believe only 3 of the 7 could be subdivided. It's not, we had originally tried to get in touch with some of the neighbors, but it was difficult to do so, to see if the whole neighborhood would try to go in on this as Nat suggested.
They're already smaller. This is the largest lot, except for that one sort of to the south there. But like, looks like those other lots are all non-conforming under current zoning. I mean, I don't have the square footage in my, but I mean, looking at the aerial, it looks like it is. Is that true, Leslie? Do you know? Those, like, you got Joyce's house on the corner of North Road, then you get the other one on, on the Clifton side of Lindbergh there. They all look smaller. Like they're under 10,000 is what I'm saying. But I can't tell by looking at this exactly.
Let me take the overlay off, and that might help to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, yep.
That would be a larger one.
Yeah, that can be, yeah, I see. Yeah, so John's right. Though 3 of them could be subdivided if we change that whole block. Okay. Oh, Jesus.
Let me, if I could you, I see one hand up, it's Campbell.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So as I'm listening to the discussion, I'm just starting to wonder to the spot zoning idea. It seems like that's like we had discussed maybe at the last meeting, a concept of like a fire line, and it seems like you're sort of jumping the road and introducing a denser, and I could be wrong, a denser zone by going with the SR1. And I know at one time we had looked at doing, I believe, the SR1s to a SOH. So I guess to one degree, I would like to see this be part of a larger rezoning, because it sounded to me like the board has taken a look at this area and had thought about trying to make it SOH. But anyway, I have a little bit of concern about the spot zoning and jumping the road and starting a new zone that can then become contagious, but it's a denser zone, if you see what I mean. So you start having, and while I realize the gal who currently owns the property doesn't have intent to sell, I think we need to look at it as what could be done with the 3 properties if they go to SR1 versus what the intent of the current owner is. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others? Emily Molden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Emily Molden with the Nantucket Land Council. I also just wanted to echo some concerns about this proposal, really for the reasons that have already been stated, as far as it being a lone lot and really just accomplishing the ability to create an additional subdivision here in the future. I also understand that, as was discussed and as Leslie explained, the board had been thinking about trying to move away from SR1 across the street to SOH and has sort of abandoned that idea for now. But I guess I'm interested in why and what kind of larger planning perspective that was part of moving away from SR1 and why that has been put on hold. Thank you.
Leslie, would you like to speak to that question? I assume part of it may be in connection with the master plan work that you mentioned, but there may be more.
So the plan isn't to move away from phasing out the SR1. It's just to put it on hold to provide a closer look at the properties that are included And maybe they're not all particularly suited to SOH. Maybe there's an R5L option or something else. I mean, the neighbors out there brought forward differing concerns about going from SR1 to SOH. Some of them didn't like the fact that they would no longer be able to have a swimming pool. Some of them didn't like the increased ground cover. Some of them didn't like the decreased setbacks. It wasn't really any particular pattern. There wasn't a particular pattern to the concern. So we decided that it wasn't a good time to move forward with that. And the Sconset area plan, as I mentioned earlier, that group is getting together and they volunteered to take a look at those properties. So, you know, it's just on hold. It's not taken off the table. There may just be other options there. And I do want to address the spot zone comments. I mean, this isn't a spot zone. A spot zone is an isolated zoning district that doesn't have any relationship to what's around it. In this particular case, the SR1 is across the street and the planning board has routinely extended zoning districts across streets. Sometimes it doesn't make for the most regular pattern, but it can be done and it's a sound practice.
Madam Chair, can I just make a comment for a
Yes,
second,
please.
one more time?
Yes.
Leslie, thank you for that. You actually said it better than me with what you said, because I was thinking something similar. Is the pattern in Sconset, we don't talk about Sconset zoning that much. So when we talk about the R1 versus the ROH in town, it's easy for us to, you know, absorb that thinking, the pattern. Like New Lane, for example, is the sort of cut from ROH to R1 on one side and ROH on the other. We've talked about that a bunch of times. And other parts of the island, like Judith and I in staff have been working on that, finding the town area plan line, and that all came up. But in Sconset, you don't think about that the same way. There's a lot of old houses out there. There's a lot of old houses right in this little block. So I do agree with Leslie that they have to understand that out there and learn their own sort of thinking as far as that goes. Because it's not as easy as town, okay? To just say, oh yeah, that's an ROH spot. This is an R1 or R5, you know? It's a little different in Sconset. It's not as contiguous as town. So it requires a little extra thinking outside the box. I don't think of density when we talk about town. I don't think about density because it's already dense. It was dense 150 years ago. So it's a different mindset. So I'm kind of like stuck with this one. I'd like this to get solved in a larger perspective of this whole block. Because if we, just imagine if we give this a positive like it is, then the other people come in and they want to get it done. And then we've got another article. And I know this doesn't sound like Nat Lowell talking, but I do think that we should look at this a little more holistically than this article. And when, this can be part of more of a discussion. In my opinion, I think that's what we should do. As much as, I don't see an issue with it, but I also see other lots that need to be looked at as a larger article maybe coming from the planning board. So that's how I kind of see it in this particular case.
Other members of the board, I see Emily Molden's hand up again, but I want to give the board a chance first. Dave Everson.
Hi, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just kind of like what Nat said. I mean, I think this would be different if the whole neighborhood came before us and asked for this change. I think with with the master plan going on, I think that doing anything before maybe we hear what the Wisconsin area plan comes back with is premature. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Fritz,
I think I agree with Nat.
thank you. Emily, you get another chance here if you want.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I probably could have lowered my hand. I was just going to thank Leslie for the additional comments and Nat, and just say that it also seems that maybe it is premature given the additional points that were made. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Or John, do you want to say something before we close the public hearing?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I had no idea there was going to be a Wisconsin area master plan or a Wisconsin area plan. That makes a ton of sense. That's great.
It's well, they already have one, right, Leslie? Don't they? We're
Yeah,
making
it's an update.
updates, and they've been, and John, they've been pretty active with a lot of different things like traffic flow and one-way stuff, like stuff for traffic safety committee to look at. And I think there's a good group right now of sort of different people than there was, 12 years ago. So
Got it.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think my advice will be for her to get involved civically, frankly, and get. We talked a couple of years about getting the support of the neighbors, but perhaps, as you said, trying to do this and come to the planning board with a more comprehensive rezoning, whether it be citizen sponsored or planning sponsored, but might not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Tell her you made a good case, John, though. We
Always
appreciate
do.
it. All right. Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
It's a free for all.
Yeah, I think
delay tonight.
I don't know. Well, Fritz and Dave.
Fritz and Dave on that.
Sure.
Okay. Roll call. Fritz.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Judith. Aye. So would the proper motion be take no action?
Yes.
It's not a yes.
Yeah.
Nat, you were
I'll
the
make it.
mastermind
I'll make
here.
that.
Would you like
Yeah.
to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to take no action on this article. Please.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Nat.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Judith. Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate
Thank
it. And Emily for your comments. Okay, now we're nearly at the end. We get to review, John.
No, I was just waving goodbye. Thank you all. Have a good
Bye,
have a good
John.
evening.
You too.
Thank you, John.
Put in a pizza for Nat. He needs that. Reviewing the comments for our articles. Leslie, you want to walk us through that? One question I had, and I don't know if this got through given the email problems, but I, for the life of me, can't remember whether we always comment on all citizen articles or only selectively. And I couldn't remember under what circumstances we decide to comment on citizen articles. So maybe you could start with further enlightenment on that, Leslie.
Okay, great. So you have in your packet all of the motions that I believe are correct in accordance with your votes. And I included draft comments for you on some of the articles. Some you specifically discussed a motion, and I think on only one, I decided you may want to include a comment, and that's on the Hummock Pond Road article.
Mm-hmm.
The planning board, you remember since I think 2011, a report has been included in the back of the warrant So that report has a lot of information about the articles. I mean, sometimes they're grouped together and may not identify specific points on every single article. But I think the comments are more reserved for when you really want to make, you know, a special point about why you did or didn't recommend an article, something of more importance, or like in the case of the Hummock Pond article, you had quite a bit of testimony at the public hearing. So I thought the voters may be more interested in hearing why you voted to support that. So not every article, citizen or planning board sponsored, needs a comment. So I think really the comment should be reserved for when you really want to emphasize your motion. So if you want to go through those, I have them open on my laptop and then I lost them when I put my cell phone on the keypad. But I think I'm back up and going. So if do you want to start, you just want to go through, maybe I'll just start and go through by number.
Sounds good.
Okay, so 39, you have your motion. That one's very straightforward. I did not do a direct comment for you. Same with 40. Same with 41. Same with 42. Same with 43. 44. 45. So all of these will have language in your report in the back of the warrant that identifies that these are master plan, you know, phase out articles, and we'll have footnotes about which sections of the master plan these, you know, pertain to. So that's why we don't have comments. Let's see, 46. Now I did include a comment for you all on this one. If you want to include it or want to make changes to it, just let me know. Or if you want to delete it, you can do that too. This is, you know, for your discussion. So I think Megan's getting there. So while she's getting there, I'll just read it. Planning board comment, the lots subject to this article are located within the country overlay district and the Hummock Pond watershed. Rezoning these properties to village residential reduces potential ground cover in the aggregate and removes the allowance of swimming pools by right. The change to VR is consistent with the goals established in the 2009 master plan and more closely aligns future development potential with the surrounding area.
Yeah.
So you may recall on the
sounds
side of
very
Hummock.
well summarized the discussion. Does anybody have?
And I think that also, Madam Chair, if I may, to Leslie, thank you for that, because you could write a comment a mile long on this one. And breaking it down into these sentences, I think is good, because in reality, that zoning out there, if that's one of those fluky places that had this high density zoning. Well, I don't say high density, but certainly a lot more than what other areas out of town would have or do have. And this was just one of those areas that has been sort of blinking a light at us for years to come up with the right switch for this area. And I think that this is about the best we can do for this area. And so I appreciate the time that's taken into doing this.
Do you want to move to adopt the comment, Nat?
I mean, if no one else has anything to say, I'd make that motion if that's what we're looking for.
I can't see if there's anybody else. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, Nat.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Judith, aye. Thank you, Leslie.
All right, Article 47. I did not include a comment. That seems very straightforward. 48 swimming pools. So I included the comment from last year, just for your reference. And Judith was working on a new comment.
I sent it, but it must have got caught in your email problems. I sent it Sunday.
And I
or
have
Saturday.
it, if you'd like for me to read it. I didn't know if everyone else had it or if Megan can
I
just.
don't think anybody probably has it. I don't think it went out. It was just explained, it was slightly differently organized and slightly expanded from what Leslie had done. And I thought Leslie had done a good job, but there were a couple things I thought by reorganizing a bit and adding a bit, it would help bolster it.
Judith, would you like for me to read it?
Yes, if you would, that'd be great.
Okay. And maybe Megan can find it and display it at the same time. This article reflects several years of deliberation by the planning board and received its unanimous support. It addresses only areas near the historic downtown district and not the island as a whole. In the proposed coverage area, there have been a number of concerns. Such concerns include the adverse effects of the impervious surface associated with swimming pools and resulting additional stormwater runoff affecting other properties and roads in areas prone to flooding. In addition, noise and lights associated with pool operation affects neighbors and the historic character of this area. This article imposes slightly increased setbacks to address these concerns, but in effect allows property owners with sufficient land in the covered district to choose how to allocate their space. For example, depending on the available land, they might opt for a pool in lieu of a secondary dwelling. The article therefore reduces the potential for estate-like development near the downtown that detracts from traditional neighborhoods and ultimately space for housing that might be attainable for year-round households.
So a fair amount of that came from Leslie, but a few things were added.
Do we want,
Fritz?
yeah, Judith, I think it's a great comment. The question is, do we want to clarify that for, say, for better, I think in this area, there are a number of lots. We might want to point out that in this area, there are a number of lots that exceed 7,500 square feet. And in that case, those lots would be unaffected by this proposal. I think specifically, what are we talking about? Up Lincoln Circle, some of those lots. Maybe I'm wrong.
Add a sentence to that effect. Leslie, what do you think?
I think we could work that in, definitely.
Otherwise,
people might read it as being a restriction on every single lot that's in that area.
Okay, good point.
They don't read it carefully.
And if I may, Fritz, that's a question that I've received, and I haven't actually received a lot of questions about this article, but when people have spoken with me, their first question is, does it apply to all lots in R1? So I think that's a good point to include in the comment.
Yeah.
John, Nat, Dave, any of you, I can't see you, so I don't know if you're raising your hand.
No, I'm good. I think that I think it's pretty well said. I'm just concerned that if we put too much language in there, it's gonna not be better, but maybe worse, because people will get confused and scared.
Is there part you take out, Dave? Are you talking about what's there now or adding more?
I just think I think what's there now is pretty good. I mean, I have to see it all at once, to be honest with you. But I'm worried that, I mean, I think it's a good article, and I think that it begins to address some of the problems. I would just like to get a victory and not scare people away.
Part of I would say part of my thinking was just the experience of going to FinCom last year, to try to be clear. That's a different audience than town meeting, obviously, but I don't know whether it'll pass or not. I think there's other bigger debates obviously this year, and it seemed as though if we fail, I'd rather have been as clear as I could about the reasoning behind it to let people know we really believed if I had to take something out to shorten it, it might be, I think it's a significant thing that it's unanimous and that we studied it for several years, but maybe that doesn't matter to the public.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that could come out.
I think it's definitely important for people to understand that this is not an island-wide thing, and that it's limited in its areas. I mean, people are emotional about their pools because it's a financial thing. So I just I think it's a great article. I think we need to just be careful.
Madam Chair.
John?
Yeah, I think it's going to bring a discussion on the floor regardless. So we can have this 10 pages long, or we can have this half a paragraph. Doesn't matter how well we lay this out and spell it out. People are going to question it and want a definition of how it affects them in particular. So I think we're going to get comments, and really we just have to this is the third time. I think it's a good article. And I think for what we've done with limiting it to a choice between 7,500 square feet as a minimum for a pool, it doesn't affect anything that has larger than that. People can still get their pool. It affects people with subdivision. If you have something that's less than 1,500 square feet or 15,000 square feet, you can still get 2 lots, but you're not going to get a pool, or you can get a pool and a lot. I think it's example wise, it's pretty easy to understand, and there is going to be discussion on the floor. So I wouldn't necessarily add or change too many things. I think it's well spelled out right now. And as Dave said, I don't want to fluff it up to confuse people. It doesn't matter what we do. We're going to have a discussion.
Yeah.
It's good as it stands, I think.
Dave Callahan?
My only concern is that, it says it's been reviewed by the planning board for several years, but the planning board had the opportunity to take a survey, which was what was said in the first year that was going to happen. And that never happened. And that's what they did when they changed it in the ROH. I think it would have been good to interview or take a sample of the people in the R1 district to see how that goes.
Dave, just for clarity, and maybe someone else can help me, I thought we looked back on that and there wasn't a commitment to do a survey. There was a suggestion from somebody, it might have been you, to do a survey, but it wasn't like there was a commitment to do it. And I don't know, in my mind, the stakes here go beyond individual property owners and what's in their personal interest, particularly given the flooding and some of those other factors that you may not agree with it, but that's kind of why I wrote it the way I did, for what that's worth. Did you think I take it you think it would have been good to have a survey? Does that take you to want to modify anything what's in here now?
No, I don't want to modify it. I'm an alternate here, so I don't need to do that. I just figured I'd say that one last time that we did have that opportunity. We didn't use it. And I think it's something when you're taking people's property rights, it's a good thing to do. I built a pool in an R1 lot on a 5,300 square foot lot that abutted Old Mill Park that had no impact on any other house. So that would have not allowed me to do it. I don't own that house anymore, but I just think there's certain instances where 7,500 feet is not the godsend parameter.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak? If not, Fritz.
Yeah, I don't want to prolong this, but I just throw out 2 other things. Taking what has been said, the last sentence we might think about deleting. I don't know whether that sounds too challenging. In other words, so I guess I just would say, maybe we should think about the last sentence, taking it out. I do like the comment that I had made before that, making it clear that it has no effect on lots larger than 7,500 square feet. And the only other thing that we might do is in the first sentence where we're talking about deliberation by the planning board. If you recall, after I did the article as a citizen's petition, the select board did add a comment suggesting that the planning board review the issue, and I don't exactly remember what it is, but I don't know whether it helps us to, in the beginning of this, to point out that it was also done at the recommendation. I don't know what word to use, but just maybe tie it back to the planning board. Tie it back to the select board. I don't want to say things that they didn't say, but they did certainly put a comment. And the only reason I would say that is it has to do more with the finance committee than maybe the public.
Let's pull the last sentence, put in the reference to the fact that not every lot qualifies. I'd hesitate to say anything about select board from a couple of years ago because the composition has changed, and
okay,
without their having a chance to weigh in.
Yep, fair enough.
And that'll shorten it a little bit. So are we ready to vote on this with those amendments?
I'd move the approval of comment.
Second.
As amended, right?
As amended, yes.
Okay, roll call. Fritz?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Judith? Aye. Okay, next one, Leslie.
Okay, so the next one is Article 49. This starts the citizen petitions. I did not draft a comment for you, but in the email that we received from Judith, she did ask about a comment because this is consistent with the master plan. So if you want me to add a comment about that, I can. Otherwise, we would note that in the planning board report in the back of the warrant.
Leslie, I withdraw the suggestion. I wasn't clear when I was working my way through here when we did and when we didn't, but I think we can leave it be.
Okay. Article 50, no comment.
Madam Chair, if I may just interject. When we actually add a comment, I think a lot of people view the comments, and unless there's a personal confrontation with what's proposed, they kind of side with, okay, they've thought about it, they've had meetings about it, I like their recommendation. So just adding a little comment, something like, yes, planning board thinks it's consistent with the master plan. Something short and sweet like that. I think it would pull a lot of weight. That's all I'd like to say.
What I was now worried about, John, is if we do it for one, we should do it consistently. And then I don't know that we are positioned tonight to go through all of them. It's not that all of them qualify for that, but I was just explaining why I had initially started down that road and then thought again. The citizens' petitions are different from our own. I think we need to justify our own, but If
No, I
others,
agree. I'm sorry. I was commenting on that last one before
Okay.
Leslie started.
well,
Yeah.
do you recommend, or would you like to make a motion that there be
Uh,
something?
No, it was just a thought, and I'm just curious of what Leslie thinks, if she thinks it's better off without any comment. Just because we mentioned it was consistent with the master plan. So if that's what we're looking to do, if you don't think there's going to be much backlash, then I'm fine to leave it alone.
All right, so let's move on.
Okay.
50, 51, there are no comments.
I would just raise, Leslie,
Yes,
I was just, that's the one we just talked about, right?
right, so I'll need to add a motion on that one for you.
Yeah, and
No action.
that might be, since it's a negative, it might be worth just, again, a sentence or two about deferring for, I don't know how to specifically say it, but somehow indicate that the community is looking at it and it should be a part of a larger plan.
Okay.
If approved. I don't know.
We took no action, right?
Correct.
Yes.
We didn't negatively vote on it.
I don't feel strongly about it one way or the other. I just thought where we're giving it when I said negative, where we're not giving it a positive recommendation, maybe it's worth a comment or two. But again, I don't feel strongly about it.
Where are we at? What number are we on now? I'm wicked sorry. I've
50,
lost.
51.
52.
52?
51.
51.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got it.
Citizens articles, not.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I know. I just should have realized that it was Article 51 before, but I didn't when we were talking about it. So Fritz is saying, what did you say, Fritz? That he doesn't.
I just a question where we're giving it a no action, and where we did talk about it. Is it worth adding a sentence saying something to the effect of?
The master plan upgrade. We should probably write something, Leslie. Some kind of short and informative way of saying holistic, looking at it from the different lens with more lots than one. My opinion, something like that.
Okay, so I will draft
a consensus.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess that looks to be a consensus.
Yeah, I see why he's right. I mean, you don't want to say take no action to something without saying something, especially, in a historic area type of thing. It needs more than just a take no action.
Yeah, and especially since we're going to see it again next year, probably.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that something short there is definitely a good idea.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I lost my, where we were here. Two different screens.
Okay, so Article 52, no comments there. 53, no comment. 54, no comment. Oh, no, yep, 54, no comment. 55. Oh, 55, I did include a comment because I thought this was really important that you discussed it and your recommendation was based on the restriction that was offered by the applicant.
Yes, very important.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for that.
So 56, no action. 57, no action. 58, no comment. 59, no comment. I didn't know, you did discuss this rugged road at length, and you discussed it last year and it was called and carried over. So I didn't draft a comment for you. I didn't really want to spend time on it if you don't want to include one, but if you do want to include one, I can put something together for you.
Yeah. if that article, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, without the screen, I can't see you. You can't see me, so I apologize. So with that, if this article was done with that zoning line concept, I think that we would have a much more positive look at this. And the comments by the abutters, you know, it's hard to comment at a meeting. You're not supposed to, can't say certain things, but I tell you, R20 over there is some gift from whenever that was. And that's why I don't look at this so negatively. That is a good line to draw in this lady's gigantic lot, and for her to keep the rest of it in LUG2 was really, she wasn't, it's a lot less intense than the original, than the article. I wish there was a way that this could have been fixed, Leslie, but I guess it couldn't be. Was that because of the submission? Is that because it carried over from last year, or what was the reason for that?
Dave, Leslie, Dave.
Leslie, go ahead.
Although I think there was some discussion about some alternative plan, I don't recall her ever coming forward with anything.
Right.
And I did just pencil out a comment for you during the meeting if you want to think about it. And here's what I wrote: extending the town overlay district and extending the R20 zoning district was not supported by the board. The lots abut the R20 and LUG3 district. The board determined that the existing division between districts along Rugged Road is an appropriate designation, and the area east of Beach Plum Village should remain in a low density country district. So something like that, if you're interested.
Nat, I think you may have had different views on this than some of the rest. Dave looks like he's going to explain.
I mean, yeah, I just think that, I mean, and I'm not sure the outcome would have been different, but it was presented to us as a full subdivision. Like she was going to chop it up into 3 lots. And if it maybe, and I don't know this, but if it was presented to us differently as just one sliver of R20 and everything remains the same, the outcome may have been different. But I think the way it was presented to us was a way that just wasn't acceptable.
I don't think we should relitigate this at this point. I think it's really
no. I'm just
No, I'm sensing all of us thinking back to what we could have said, what we did say, whatever. And I think the question before us is simply, do we want to comment or not? Leslie's comment captures, I think, the discussion that we had. So let me just get a sense, do people want to have a comment or not?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I see this coming back with something better at some point because of the position this person is in and also its location. This isn't like down, you know, half a mile down the road. This is right in the 40B and across the street from all R20. I just think that it was handled in a way that created some confusion and some misinformation, I guess. I don't want to make it look like, you know, I think this lady deserves a shot at something that we can agree on. So I don't know what the comment should say. I think we should have a comment, but I don't know if I agree with what Leslie just said about LUG3, abutting LUG3. That's way down. Isn't LUG3 down at isn't that the what's
State Forest,
the subdivision down further? What's that called? Whatever it is, down around 30 something Rugged Road. What is that called down there? That's in LUG2, I think. Sturgis Pines, isn't that LUG2?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So the LUG3 stuff is really the conservation lands, Boy Scout stuff, right?
Mhm.
So this is on the other end, not down there. So I don't know.
I'm just gonna poll the
I got a
board.
soft spot for this one. This one here is, I wouldn't want to be in this position. I can tell you that. It's a big piece of land to sit right across from R20.
Members of the board, I'm going to go one by one to see, would you like to stick with Leslie's comment, no comment, or some other is yet to be determined comment? John?
I think I think it's interesting. We could relive this whole thing all over again because I have everything going in my head.
We are.
Yeah. So we are, yeah. So I think we need to comment just to clarify, because I think somebody's going to stand up and we're going to start this whole argument again on the floor of annual town meeting, and where everybody's going to have their own opinion about something. So I think if we can just summarize it, maybe people will be accepting of it. So to be
does that
determined.
mean you go with Leslie's comment, or you want
I would side towards Leslie's comment, yes, but I think maybe it needs to be tweaked.
Leslie?
I do want to point out, Nat's correct. This does not directly abut LUG3. The property next door to it does. So that would need to be corrected.
Fritz?
I agree. I agree with John and with the modification Leslie just talked about.
Okay, let's see, Dave?
Agreed with the previous two.
Okay, Nat?
I agree, and thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I agree with the majority here, and I think we can trust Leslie to tweak it a little bit. Okay. I could honestly see us spending 2 hours doing this again, and I don't think we want to do that tonight.
No, next year we can spend 2 hours.
That's okay, Nat, I'll give you that, just not tonight, okay?
Madam Chair, do we need a motion for that?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion to support Leslie's comments as noted to include in the packet.
I'll
second.
Oh, okay.
Nat second.
Nat seconded. Nat is such a peacemaker for an Irishman, I'll tell you.
Englishman, English and Italian.
Is that right? Okay, well. John?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Judith? Aye.
Okay, so the next article, Article 61, I did include a comment on this one only because it was carried over from last year and the proponent indicated that they didn't want to advance the initiative. So I thought that was important for the people at town meeting to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is, Judith, if I may, Leslie, this is I don't want to, belabor this master plan stuff, but this
Right,
is
exactly.
This is I guess I would say, a component of a much larger discussion on those, gigantic, 14 lots out there that are huge, mixed with all the other ones. So, it's premature right now, unfortunately, to come to an agreement on it as it is.
Article 62, island perimeter restrictions. You all did not discuss this in any detail, and I included the same comment as you voted on last year. And the next one, 63. You had an extensive comment last year. I didn't think that was necessary again, since you didn't discuss it and the proponent doesn't want to move forward. So I included the same comment that I drafted for the Driscoll article.
Looks good.
Okay. 64. This also has the same comment from last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and I misspoke on a prior article, on article, just one second. The Emily Molden article,
Right.
that one, Megan. I did include a comment on that one for you, because I think, to the reader who's not familiar with this, it may be confusing and it may seem like you've supported a lot of changes that you really didn't. It was mostly cleanup. And I thought it was an important cleanup. I thought it was something that, it was good that she brought that forward.
We're going to do cleanup motion on everything at the end. We don't need to move on each one, right, Leslie?
Yep, that's fine.
Madam Chair, can I ask Leslie something?
Please.
Article 41, Leslie, can we move back to that for a minute?
Yep.
The email communication issue with you guys has, caused some people not to be able to get in touch with you at all. So, are you familiar with this? What I'm going to say about this yet?
Yes.
About the two lots. Okay.
And I told the person that now was not the time to deal with that we could deal with that later.
We can? Okay. I wasn't sure what we were doing exactly, so I just wanted to bring that up. Just make sure we take note of those two lots. Okay. That's it then. So what are we doing? We bringing these back, or what are we doing?
I think
another meeting?
I think we're going to move to approve them subject to minor edits that we've discussed tonight.
Okay. There you go. So you can take care of that, Leslie, yourself. You can take care of that for us in that article.
Just so everyone knows what we're talking about, in Article 41, two of the property owners, well, actually a property owner who owns two properties, came forward today and said that they may not want to be included in the article. So that's not something that you can vote on tonight anyway. So Megan talked to them and said that we would look into it and get back to them. So what we've done in the past is if, last minute someone wants to come out of the article, you can do it through a technical amendment. In this case, if you were interested in, re-advertising it, because we have time to do that since town meeting's not until June, we could do that. But as of right now, the motion that you voted on is the motion, because we have a timeline and we need to get those to the Finance Committee. So I don't want to get bogged down in this Article 41 issue right now.
Okay.
So again, that's something we can address later. But all the comments and the motions, you can vote on now, subject to any, technical administrative type changes.
And what you just described has happened before. There's other occasions where people will change their mind at the last minute. And so is there a motion to approve the comments subject to minor edits consistent with our discussion? Fritz moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Dave seconds. Roll call. Fritz.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Judith. Aye. Okay. Is there any other public comment from anybody who's waiting to speak on some other matter? I don't see any. So our next meeting is the 12th of April. Are you ready to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. Fritz.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Judith, and thanks again to our trustee staff for doing all you're doing, and we send good wishes to Catherine and appreciate everybody backstopping when she has to be away. Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
Not all. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.